Hey everyone, per your requests, I'm starting Soul Land 5, The Rebirth of Tang San. Chapters 881 through 900 of the previous episode. The three most powerful demon races, dragons, phoenixes, and behemoths, share an uneasy equilibrium of power, each hampered by extremely low reproductive rates. The fall of the Crystal Demon Emperor disrupts this stability, making Crystal City a prime target for the remaining emperors. To prevent a power imbalance, the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor orchestrates a potential marriage alliance between Mei Gongzi of the Peacock clan and Jin Ongwa of the Behemoth clan. However, Mei Gongzi rejects this proposal, prioritizing her devotion to Tang San. Her steadfast refusal and the revelation of her human heritage heighten the ancestral court's hostility. Despite this, Tang San empowers Mei Gongzi to dominate the elite competition, securing her position as the Lord of Kali City. Tang San simultaneously advances his own power, successfully merging the Golden Mammoth and Behemoth bloodlines into a transcendent form. With the ancestral tree awakened, Tang San orchestrates the migration of humans to islands in the endless blue sea, laying the groundwork for a future human nation independent of demon and nymph oppression. If you're able to, please support me on PayPal to help me stay active. Thank you. Now let's get back to the story of Soul Land 5, The Rebirth of Tang San audio series. Chapter 901. Of course, he wouldn't simply forcefully move the Blue Gold Tree clan to the human Sky Tree realm. That would unquestionably cause the ancestral tree's trust in him to disappear. As a result, its imprint within him would collapse, leading to major issues in his ascension to emperorhood and making him a target of the plane again. What he had to do was carefully manipulate the situation in the right direction, and then let everything progress naturally. Clan leader, are you bringing the same group to the ancestral court this time? The Grand Elder asked, a hint of eagerness in his eyes as he looked at Tang San. This time he truly wanted to go as well. After the emperor-slaying feat last time, and with all the recent excitement in Skytree City, the Grand Elder was deeply aware that the clan leader's visit to the ancestral court would undoubtedly be welcome with unprecedented honors. As the Grand Elder, he naturally also wanted to experience such a glorious moment. Seeing the hope in his eyes, Tang San smiled and said, I'm going to the ancestral court to undergo evaluation because I hope to secure support from them. I'll need some of the elders to be witnesses. Miaosan will accompany me. As for the other elders, I'll leave it up to you to decide. After all, I've been far away for too long and I'm not even sure who is who anymore. Please choose some elders with enough prestige to accompany me. This way, when we return, the elders can better spread the ancestral court's will among our people. Hearing this, the Grand Elder's eyes immediately lit up, and he hurriedly responded, Rest assured, clan leader, I'll make the proper arrangements. Although Tang San knew the Grand Elder wanted to go, he wasn't about to point it out and offend other elders who also wanted to attend. They could sort it out among themselves. If they ended up offending each other, that was their issue. He only cared about the outcome. Even if all the Blue Gold Tree clan elders wanted to go, Tang San had no objections. The next day, as Tang San prepared to depart, a scene that left him truly speechless unfolded. In front of the ancestral tree, 36 elders stood fully prepared to depart. Leading them was, of course, a beaming Grand Elder. Seeing this, even Tang San couldn't help but feel a bit speechless. He had thought that double the number from last time, 24 elders, was the most he would take with him. But the Grand Elder had brought out almost all of the elders. If it weren't for the need to protect Skytree City, would they have brought the entire Elder Council? We're going to report, not to demonstrate our power, Tang San said helplessly as he looked at the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder's face flushed slightly. Though his prestige was indeed the highest within the Blue Gold Tree clan, this reporting trip was an unprecedented moment of glory for the clan, and none of the elders wanted to miss out. There had been intense debate the previous night, with some even threatening to stake their lives over the matter. In the end, there was no choice. The Grand Elder awkwardly said, Clan leader, now that the ancestral tree is awake, and with its brilliance shining over Skytree City, there's no way any troublemakers would dare come here. Bearing witness to your evaluation is the clan's most important matter, so everyone hopes to attend. What do you think? Seeing the hopeful gazes of the elders, Tang San could only sigh helplessly and nod. All right, let's go then. Set out. And so he set off once again, this time with 36 jubilant Blue Gold Tree clan elders, flying straight toward the ancestral court. Compared to the last departure, the atmosphere this time was completely different. The previous time, although they had a new clan leader, the Blue Gold Tree clan elders weren't expecting much change and were merely fulfilling a task. But this time was entirely different. The ancestral tree had slain the adamant nymph emperor. In other words, the Blue Gold Trees had no emperor of their own, yet were capable of killing one. This sent shockwaves throughout the entire continent. The elders were in an exceptionally good mood. They had never experienced such a moment of glory before, and it felt as if the whole world had brightened before their eyes. Tang San wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he used his divine consciousness to seek out forests rich in life energy, passing over them and leaving traces of his own life force. He also used the Blue Gold Tree clan's bloodline imprint to connect with the plants, granting them the ancestral tree's blessing. In doing so, the ancestral tree would receive a measure of faith from these plants. As the ancestral tree's representative, Tang San was naturally also the target of this faith. While this could not compare to the power of faith absorbed through the sea god seat, it was still a form of pure faith from this plane, highly beneficial to enhancing Tang San's life essence and nourishing his body. As soon as they set off, the ancestral court received the news, and this time, their response was entirely different. By the time they reached halfway there, an ancestral court envoy had already arrived with Pegasus carriages to greet them. There were enough carriages to carry all the Blue Gold Tree clan elders, speeding up their journey to the ancestral court. Tang San had been to the ancestral court many times before, but this was his first time arriving in such a grand manner. Moreover, this time he would face the emperors directly. For him, the success of his report was nearly a certainty. No one would risk provoking the wrath of the ancestral tree by opposing him. After all, the Blue Gold Tree clan was not strong by any standard, but the ancestral tree was an entirely different matter. Every demon and nymph on the continent was well aware of that. The ancestral tree controlled the essence of life, a resource scarce for any race. How to maintain good relations with the Blue Gold Tree clan was what each clan now contemplated. Tang San meditated alone in the flying horse carriage, continuously releasing the aura of ancestral tree. Only when he sensed familiar energy fluctuations did he withdraw his divine consciousness and open his eyes. When he lifted the curtain of the carriage, the outside scenery came into view. The first thing he saw were the ancestral mountains surrounding the ancestral court, each towering peak adorned with a grand statue of an emperor. Tang San sensed the faint pulse of Crystalline's imprint. Even as the former top emperor, she couldn't help feeling somewhat sour returning to the ancestral court's vicinity. "Come out," Tang San prompted her. With a flash of light, Crystalline appeared beside Tang San, wearing a pale blue gauze dress. Gone was the innocence of a new childhood. Now she looked as though she were in the prime of youth, an extraordinary beauty tinged with a sense of nostalgia. Her deep gaze, betraying maturity far beyond her apparent age, seemed to hold a myriad of secrets. "The duplicate you left in your crystal palace has perished, hasn't it?" asked Tang San. Crystalline sat beside him, gazed at the scenery outside for a moment and shrugged. "Looks like it did. I thought that once we separated it could survive by itself, but it seems that I was wrong. Anyway, according to my last will, the Crystal Palace should be handed over to the dragon race for management. I don't think they'd dare meddle with my belongings. Do you miss your past life?" Crystalline shook her head. "What's there to miss? Most of my past life was rather dull. Once I became the strongest, the entire dragon race felt nothing but fear and respect toward me. That didn't bring me any joy. And in the latter part of my life, I spent most of my time thinking about how to extend it. Only in my final moments did I realize that the length of life isn't the most important thing. It's the breadth of life that brings the most beautiful memories." Tang San smiled slightly and nodded. "Yes, with your cultivation level you should venture out more. In this plane, breaking through the barrier of lifespan is almost impossible. Only in the outside world is there some chance." Crystalline looked at Tang San. "The outside world as in the greater universe?" Tang San nodded again. "Indeed. The universe is filled with boundless mysteries and endless natural wonders. No matter how strong we individuals may be, we are still insignificant in the vastness of the universe. And within it, there is much we don't yet know. Did your previous life take you to many places in the universe? Crystalline asked curiously. Well, on the mortal scale you could say I've traveled quite a bit, but on the universal scale I barely took a few steps away from home. Traveling through the universe is an incredibly fascinating experience, but there are also many risks. When you come with me back to the world I once lived in, I'll tell you more, and you'll be able to see things for yourself as well. I'll give you your freedom and you can do whatever you want. I have a grand vision for the future, and I'll likely be very busy when the time comes. You sure think about a lot, but I enjoy being around someone as knowledgeable as you. You know, my loneliness mostly came from not being able to find like-minded people. It might sound like bragging, but their thoughts simply weren't at the same level as mine, so how could we talk properly? But since I found myself inside your body, I've come to realize that we aren't on the same level either, and this time it's the other way around. I don't know about you, but you always surprise me, and there's always something new to learn. And I haven't experienced this in 2,000 years. Keep it up, Dad. As she finished speaking, she couldn't help but chuckle. Tang San wasn't fazed by her calling him Dad. After all, in his past life, he and his wife had a daughter, and she had long grown up. Now that he heard Crystalline call him Dad, Tang San couldn't help but think of his own daughter, and a surge of longing flooded his heart. My dear daughter, I wonder how you're doing. Did you and Yuhao get me another grandchild? Seeing the expression in Tang San's eyes, Crystalline also fell silent. She simply sat by his side, gazing out the window alongside him. The Pegasi gradually descended, landing on the main road outside the ancestral court. The road was completely empty, with no demons or nymphs in sight. The road seemed to have been cleared in advance, a clear show of respect on behalf of the ancestral court. Things were truly different now. When Mei Gongzi had come to report, no one had even acknowledged her. Tang San couldn't help but feel some indignation on behalf of his beloved. It was a rule that no one other than emperors could fly within the ancestral court, a rule that no one could break. The Pegasus carriages landed neatly on the main road and proceeded slowly forward. Before they even entered the ancestral court, envoys had already arrived to welcome them, leading the Blue Gold Tree Clan's carriages toward the city. This is quite the reception. It seems they really value you. But these fools have no idea they're not actually welcoming the Blue Gold Tree Clan. Crystalline chuckled softly. Tang San glanced at her and said, You know too much. Crystalline sighed. Every second with you makes me realize you're the craftiest person I know. Tang San rolled his eyes. What do you mean, crafty? As my daughter, shouldn't you describe your father as wise? Crystalline giggled. All right, old man, you're wise. What's your plan next? I'm really curious. Isn't Mom being forced into a martial competition for marriage? Are you planning to use your identity in the Blue Gold Tree Clan to participate? So it turns out you weren't actually asleep in my dantian but eavesdropping the whole time? I accidentally overheard it, Crystalline replied with a playful tone. Tang Sen nodded and said, Got it. From now on, if I don't want you to hear, I'll block it with my divine consciousness. Crystalline gave him a sorrowful look and said, Dad, is this how you treat your daughter? After you hatched me yourself and raised me? Tang San ignored her, closed his eyes and waited in silence. Soon, he would be facing the emperors of the ancestral court, and none of them were fools, especially that one. Crystalline stuck out her tongue before transforming into a crystal light and merging back into Tang San's body, disappearing without a trace. Tang San's aura became even more reserved. The Blue Gold Tree Clan's bloodline imprint within him shone with the greatest brilliance, masking all other imprints. With the presence of the ancestral tree's aura and the chaos energy from the Chaos Blue Silver Emperor, not even an emperor could discern the true state of his body. The flying horse-drawn carriage stopped only when they reached the foot of the ancestral court's Council Mountain. Clan leader Jean, we have arrived at the Council Mountain. Please disembark, a respectful voice said from outside. Tang San stood up and got out of the carriage, and the towering Council Mountain appeared before him. The aura of the ancestral court was just as it had always been, vast, with a complex blend of energies swirling in the air. Simply sensing it gave him a strange feeling. The Council Mountain exuded a strong atmosphere of authority, exerting invisible pressure on those present. Almost none of the Blue Gold Tree elders had been here before. As they felt the abundant energy of the ancestral court and gazed at the imposing Council Mountain, They instinctively gathered behind Tang San. For some reason, just being near him made them feel at ease. The one responsible for greeting them was a nymph king from the Scorching Sunflower clan. Seeing 36 blue gold tree elders disembark one after another, this person was secretly astonished. Even the Scorching Sunflower clan, the strongest in the Solstice Empire, only had this many nymph kings. It was downright shocking that a clan from a remote border city would have so many beings above the 10th order. Clan leader Jean, elders, please follow me, said the representative of the ancestral court, leading Tang San and the Blue Gold Tree clan elders up Council Mountain. Tang San had been here before, but he had never truly climbed the Council Mountain. The confrontation with the emperors during his breakthrough to godhood had taken place in the Hell Garden, which was under the Celestial Fox Sacred Mountain. At that time, it had been Mei Gongzi on the Council Mountain instead. As he entered through the main gate this time, Tang San silently took in everything around him. The energy fluctuations within the Council Mountain were much purer than elsewhere in the ancestral court. Though still a mix of different energies, these elements were clearly filtered, making them easier to absorb. Blue gold trees could also absorb other types of energy aside from life energy, and they would eventually be transformed into life energy inside their bodies. With Tang San and so many Blue Gold Tree clan elders present, a vast aura of life naturally emanated from them, subtly affecting the energy fluctuations within the Council Mountain. The ancestral court staff escorting them could clearly feel the nourishing effect of the life energy surrounding the group. The high-level life energy of the Blue Gold Tree clan was always welcome absolutely everywhere. However, in the past, this welcome had often come in unpleasant forms. With his powerful divine consciousness, Tang San could easily sense the greed radiating from some of the staff. It was clear, the Blue Gold Tree clan was indeed a coveted treasure. No wonder they were the target of so much envy and desire. Tang San turned to the Scorching Sunflower Nymph King leading the group and asked, "May I ask when my report is scheduled to begin?" The Scorching Sunflower Nymph King replied, "I'm not sure of the specifics. His Majesty the Sunborn will personally meet with you shortly, and then you'll likely be informed about when the report will take place." Hearing this, Tang San nodded slightly. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor was likely the current top power in the ancestral court. Even when the Crystal Demon Emperor was present, he had ranked second in strength. The death of the Adamant Nymph Emperor had undoubtedly shaken the Solstice Empire deeply, and the upcoming discussions with this emperor would be crucial. Seeing how Tang San remained calm even after hearing that the Sunborn Nymph Emperor would be meeting him, the Scorching Sunflower Nymph King couldn't help but secretly admire his composure. This young clan leader's mental fortitude was truly impressive. Though none of the Blue Gold Tree clan elders following Tang San spoke up, the glances they exchanged revealed their shared nervousness. The interior of the Council Mountain was enormous, and Tang San, along with the elders, was first assigned accommodations. They were nothing but simple apartments with stone walls, but the energy within was pure, entirely of the wood element, which made it perfectly suited for the Blue Gold Tree clan. The abundant wood energy made all the elders feel incredibly comfortable. The ancestral court was showing the Blue Gold Tree clan a very high level of hospitality. Each elder was assigned an individual living space, and Tang San's chambers were particularly spacious, over 100 square meters. It was not all that much, objectively speaking, but this was the very heart of the Demon Continent. Having such large accommodations was a privilege second only to the emperors themselves. The staff instructed Tang San to rest and wait before bidding a respectful farewell and departing. Tang San surveyed his room, which had a living area, a bedroom and a bathroom. The concentration of energy in the room was even greater than that of the top floor of the White Tiger Demon Emperor's hotel. It could rival a cultivation chamber. Although it lacked the purple crystals that nourish divine consciousness, the wood attribute energy here was extremely abundant. As he recalled the process of reporting that Mei Gongzi had explained to him, Tang San knew that after conversing with the emperors, he would undergo the baptism of the celestial pillar left behind by the clan's emperor. The Blue Gold Tree clan indeed had an emperor in the past, none other than the real Jin Miaolin's father, but it was unlikely that he'd been any kind of strong being. At the same time, the bloodline imprints within Tang San were not limited to just the Blue Gold Tree clan. How should he choose when the time came? "Crystalline," Tang San called out with his divine consciousness. "What is it, Dad?" Weren't you going to block me from sensing the outside world? Crystalline responded, when I start communion with one of the ancestral court's celestial pillars, will the emperors be able to sense which pillar I've entered? Of course. When you enter a celestial pillar, that pillar will release an aura. Usually, those communicating with a celestial pillar enter the pillar of their own clan. Is there any way to prevent the emperors from sensing which pillar I enter? Tang San continued. That would be difficult. In principle, an emperor should stand guard during the entire process to prevent any issues. The communion lasts 3 days. What are you planning? Don't tell me you're thinking about entering all the celestial pillars for a look around? The pillars contain the will of the original emperors, and I'm not sure if your identity would be discovered if you enter. You must remember that the emperor's aura within the pillars contains a trace of divine consciousness. If your true identity is discovered, the pillar will raise an alarm. If an emperor investigates carefully, you won't be able to hide it. Tang San frowned slightly. He hadn't considered this problem before. If the Blue Gold Tree clan's celestial pillar rejected him, causing the emperors outside to become suspicious, it would be troublesome, and his future plans would be completely derailed. Don't worry. I've got a solution. You don't need to enter the Blue Gold Tree clan's celestial pillar. Just go into mine. I'll absorb the power from it for you, and you'll pass the test smoothly. This will also help me. I'll get stronger, so I'll be able to seal the Adamant Nymph Emperor's imprint even better. But you have to promise me that, unless you're with Mom, you won't block my divine consciousness for no reason. Tang San asked doubtfully, Enter your celestial pillar? Won't that raise suspicion? Didn't you just say people usually enter their own clan's pillar? Yes, I said usually. There are special situations. For instance, if a person is extraordinarily talented, they might be recognized by a different celestial pillar. It's rare but not impossible. The greatest benefit from the celestial pillar communion is the chance to inherit bloodline abilities from another clan. It's extremely rare, but it happened to me during my own baptism. That gave me extra abilities, which became my foundation as the strongest demon emperor. Curious, Tang San asked. Which celestial pillar recognized you back then? Crystalline replied. The Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor from 3 generations ago. You may not know this, but Lin Shima's opportunity to become an emperor had to do with me giving him a chance. It was me repaying a debt, basically. Indeed, Tang San had been unaware of that. He asked in surprise. Was that generation's Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor powerful? Yes, the fallen Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor was the Phoenix Lord of his era, even surpassing the immortal Flame Phoenix Demon Emperor of the same generation. As you know, I am a mutant, so I didn't have a corresponding celestial pillar. At the time, I thought that perhaps one of the dragon race's celestial pillars might recognize me, but I also feared not being recognized at all. That would have made it difficult for me to become an emperor in the future. But in the end, the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor's celestial pillar acknowledged me. I didn't acquire any special bloodline abilities, but I did get one of the Crystal Phoenix clan's physical abilities, crystallization. That greatly increased my physical strength, and it allowed me to withstand the bloodline power of other emperors. Anyway, my point is that if my celestial pillar recognizes you, it will definitely be surprising but not a first by any stretch. More importantly, everyone knows I'm a unique case with no successor and I recently passed away. Using my celestial pillar to find a suitable heir for my legacy is only logical. After all, I was once the strongest, and it's normal for my divine consciousness to want to pass on some of my abilities. If you receive my legacy, demons and nymphs alike will value you even more. It's nothing but beneficial for you. Tang San nodded. That is indeed a solution, and if it lets you get stronger as well, then that's perfect. Let's go with that if we can. Then it's a promise. All right. Tang San felt somewhat helpless. He really didn't have many options right now, and he truly needed Crystalline's help, so it seemed that he had to put up with this cunning not daughter of his for a while. The fact that Crystalline could use her 11th order power to seal the Adamant Nymph Emperor's bloodline imprint made him realize just how strong her own bloodline was. In fact, he wasn't even sure that his own golden armor bloodline was stronger than that. As expected of the strongest emperor in history. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Tang San composed himself and said in a steady voice, "Come in." The scorching sunflower nymph king entered respectfully and said, "Clan leader Jean, His Majesty the Sunborn Nymph Emperor has requested your presence. Please lead the way." The scorching sunflower nymph king led the way, and Tang San followed, stepping out of his quarters. Tang San was actually not surprised at all that the Sunborn Nymph Emperor wanted to see him. This emperor was not only the strongest in the Solstice Empire but also its true ruler. No matter what, Tang San was part of the Solstice Empire, and one of the lords of the 7 major cities. If the emperor didn't meet with him, it would be a sign, just like when Mei Gongzi had come here, proof that they didn't intend for his mission to succeed. By contrast, the fact that the Sunborn Nymph Emperor was meeting him immediately showed just how much importance was being placed on him. The Council Mountain was practically a labyrinth on the inside, but Tang San could clearly feel that they were heading deeper into the complex. Tang San was quite familiar with the blazing yang energy of the Scorching Sunflower clan, as it was a key component of his Chaos Blue-Silver Emperor. He was thus quite curious about the full power of the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. He had sensed the latter's aura during his tribulation, but at that time the overwhelming power of the 9 heavens 10 earths divine extinguishing tribulation had overshadowed everything. Now that he was about to face the current strongest figure of the continent, Tang San felt a sense of anticipation. A close encounter would allow him to gauge this emperor's true strength. The hallways of the Council Mountain were mostly decorated with reliefs depicting major historical events of the continent, and Tang San observed them with interest. After passing through several corridors and walking nearly a kilometer, a pair of massive stone doors appeared before Tang San. The 2 doors were 5 meters tall. The left door was intricately carved with the vibrant image of the scorching sunflower, a sunflower plant with 9 large blooms. The right door depicted a single grand sun, towering high above. The scorching sunflower nymph king whispered, "Each emperor has their own private residence within the Council Mountain. Although most of the time they reside in their own palaces, they occasionally stay here." It was clear the scorching sunflower nymph king was trying to be friendly, so Tang San nodded and responded politely, "I see, thank you." There was no doubt that behind these doors lay the residence of the sun-nurtured Sunborn Nymph Emperor within the ancestral court. This emperor was the subject of many legends across the demon continent. According to legend, when the Sunborn Nymph Emperor was born, he was considered a defective product. Yes, that was the exact term. Defective product. Plant-type nymph clans dedicated plenty of effort to breeding stronger offspring. They used various methods like hybridization and cross-pollination, attempting to enhance their bloodlines by combining the strongest traits. Most of these clans followed this practice. The Blue Gold Tree clan was a rare exception. Due to the presence of the ancestral tree, their bloodline was already strong enough, and they saw no need to mix it with others. Unlike most other plant bloodlines, the ancestral tree's bloodline was exclusive, and maintaining the purity of its life force was paramount. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor was a new breed, developed by the Scorching Sunflower clan, but at the time of his birth, it appeared as if the experiment had failed. The new Scorching Sunflower was not only severely lacking in terms of bloodline power, but also far weaker physically than a normal Scorching Sunflower, with a high risk of dying prematurely. Newborn seedlings were barely sentient and required a long period of nurturing. Only when their life force reached a certain threshold could they gain true intelligence and be considered actual nymphs. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor was left in the Scorching Sunflower clan's ancestral land to receive the same nurturing as the other seedlings. However, due to his inherent weakness, he could only remain at the edges, unable to truly bask in the sunlight that nourished his peers. Days turned into years. Generation after generation of scorching sunflowers were cultivated. Due to the inherent strength of their clan, a typical scorching sunflower could reach maturity and become a true nymph within 10 years. An extremely fast pace for a plant-type nymph. After gaining sentience, they would leave the ancestral land and continue cultivating to strengthen themselves. A notable difference between demons and nymphs was the baseline cultivation. For instance, scorching sunflowers would reach the 6th order at maturity. Meanwhile, the highest-tier demon clans often started at the 7th or 8th order at birth, and in the case of the dragon and phoenix races, some were even born at the 9th order. On the other hand, in the case of nymphs, a 6th order cultivation upon reaching adulthood was more or less the upper limit. However, the growth rate of nymphs actually kept up in the later stages of life, while demons' cultivation speed decreased rather dramatically. As for the sun-born nymph emperor, 20 years passed without him showing any signs of reaching maturity. The clan members responsible for nurturing him eventually gave up. Since he was already left in a corner, no one paid any attention to him, letting him grow slowly on his own. The standard in the Scorching Sunflower clan for seedlings being considered true nymphs was the blooming of 9 flowers. Upon awakening from their vegetative sleep, they would have true intelligence and could manage things on their own. But the sun-born nymph emperor only ever produced a single flower. He couldn't grow a second one. Over time, he became more of a background fixture in the Scorching Sunflower clan's ancestral grounds. As he produced no more flowers, the clan believed he would never gain intelligence. But that lone Scorching Sunflower continued to grow over the years, becoming larger and larger. 100 years passed, and the sun-born nymph emperor remained in the corner, growing slowly. By then, his single flower had become more than 10 times larger than a normal one, and it was continuously absorbing sunlight and radiating sunfire. It wasn't until the Scorching Sunflower nymph emperor of that generation paid a visit to the ancestral grounds that the strange flower was noticed. Curious, the emperor approached to assess the energy within this mutated flower. But before the emperor could touch it, the golden flower suddenly erupted with brilliance as intense as the sun, and the emperor was immediately devoured. Yes, the Scorching Sunflower nymph emperor was eaten in one gulp, like a fly landing on a carnivorous plant. It was said that before Jean Miaolin and the ancestral tree's recent feat, no emperors had been slain since times immemorial. This was quite literally true, as only a handful of people alive remembered the last time it had happened. Only a few emperors were alive 2,000 years ago, when the Scorching Sunflower nymph emperor was devoured by a member of its own clan. At that time, the Scorching Sunflower emperor was by no stretch the strongest, but it was nevertheless an emperor. Who could have imagined that an emperor would suddenly become nourishment for a lesser being? The sun-born nymph emperor gained sentience at that moment, though he was not even aware that he had devoured the Scorching Sunflower nymph emperor, much less how or why. The devouring was so complete that even the emperor's divine consciousness was consumed, and its throne was inherited immediately. Thus, the sun-born nymph emperor became the only emperor in history to ascend without the usual path, gaining the throne through devouring another emperor. The death of the Scorching Sunflower nymph emperor was instantly sensed by every powerful being, and it came as a massive shock to the entire continent. As for the Scorching Sunflower clan, they were in utter chaos. But just a few moments later, a brilliant light shot up into the sky, scattering the clouds that had formed and transforming into a great sun that illuminated the world. The sun-born nymph emperor was born. Upon evolution, the sun-born nymph emperor possessed perfect intelligence, having absorbed the divine consciousness of the former Scorching Sunflower emperor. Naturally, he immediately understood what was going on and where he stood. 100 years was a long time for anyone, whether demon or nymph, but in terms of ascending to emperorhood, it was relatively short. More remarkable still, this new emperor was not even an intelligent being at the moment of his ascension. This made the sun-born nymph emperor an eternal legend. The method by which the sun-born nymph emperor had appeared into the world became a taboo within the Scorching Sunflower clan, sealed away forever. After all, no one wanted to be devoured by another. The sun-born nymph emperor himself also remained silent about the specifics, and since he was the most powerful nymph emperor, no one had the standing to question him. And while the bloodline improvement efforts of the Scorching Sunflower clan only redoubled after he appeared, neither seedlings born from his own bloodline nor any other seedlings ever became anything special. Tang San was now about to meet such a legendary figure. Along with wariness, there was a strong sense of curiosity. From what Tang San knew, despite being the Solstice Empire's strongest and true ruler, the sun-born nymph emperor rarely involved himself even in his own country's day-to-day affairs, let alone in power struggles with the Empyrean Dominion. Yet this powerful and detached figure was now requesting a meeting. Certainly, it could be because the Ancestral Courts Council had decided to give the Blue Gold Tree clan a grand welcome. But was that really the only reason? The massive stone doors slowly opened, and the Scorching Sunflower Nymph King stood outside, gesturing for Tang San to enter. However, the Nymph King had no intention of following him inside. Tang San stepped inside, entering a vast hall. The hall had a ceiling over 10 meters high and spanned more than 500 square meters, appearing very spacious. The surrounding walls featured windows that allowed in sunlight, though they were clearly at the very center of a mountain. After observing them for a moment, Tang San realized each window was actually not a sheet of glass but a spatial portal. Damn, these emperors sure know how to be extravagant. To the right of the hall was an elegant wooden desk, and the wall behind it was lined with bookshelves, holding a variety of books. On the opposite side were 2 sets of luxurious sofas, embroidered with images of sunflowers on white leather. Behind the desk sat a figure who, at least on the surface, appeared indistinguishable from a human. He was wearing a simple robe with a silken texture that looked rather comfortable, and he held a book in his hand, reading calmly. His appearance was youthful, and unlike the time Tang San had seen him from a distance, it was not clouded over. His handsome face radiated a sunny warmth, and his neatly combed pale golden hair fell smoothly over his shoulders, giving him a scholarly and refined aura. "Sit down," he said, gesturing toward the sofa opposite Tang San. He then stood up and placed his book back on the shelf. Seeing this figure who looked about the same age as his former human self, Tang San's wariness immediately heightened. Without a doubt, this was the legendary sun-nurtured sun-born nymph emperor, yet he was vastly different from what Tang San had imagined. There was not a trace of worldly aura about him, nor could Tang San sense any overwhelming power. He suspected this might not be the emperor's true body, but rather a projection of his divine consciousness. However, the strength of this consciousness surpassed any emperor Tang San had encountered. Of course, Tang San had not met the Crystal Demon Emperor at her peak, but even compared to the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor, who was certainly no slouch in terms of divine consciousness, this person was far beyond. Tang San had no doubt in his judgment. His divine consciousness was not the strongest in this plane, but it was the highest in tier, and he was particularly sensitive to divine consciousness fluctuations. Following the emperor's suggestion, Tang San walked to the sofa but chose not to sit immediately, instead waiting respectfully. The sun-born nymph emperor finished putting away his book, then walked over with a gentle smile. He gestured again toward the sofa, then sat in the main seat. Only then did Tang San sit down on the sofa, maintaining a respectful posture. The sun-born nymph emperor smiled and said, "There's no need to be tense. I can sense the familiar aura of the ancestral tree from you. How nostalgic. You know, when I first became an emperor, I went to Skytree City to meet the ancestral tree. I gained great insight from the ancestral tree's life energy, which helped my growth. The ancestral tree is one of the progenitors of all plant-type nymphs, after all. Without it, we wouldn't have half the plant nymphs we do today. I genuinely regret that I haven't been able to protect the Blue Gold Tree clan better over the years, and I've caused your people to suffer." The more approachable the emperor seemed, the more cautious Tang San became. He had a growing sense that this emperor was far more terrifying than the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. Who would have thought that the Solstice Empire had such a powerful figure? Was this emperor truly as detached as the rumors suggested? "Your Majesty is too kind. Without your protection, as well as that of the Earthshade Nymph Emperor, our clan likely wouldn't have been able to hold on to Skytree City." The Sunborn Nymph Emperor waved his hand dismissively and said, "This was nothing but our duty. No one has the right to disturb the ancestral tree's slumber. I'm very glad to see the Blue Gold Tree clan flourishing again with the ancestral tree's awakening. I also hope the ancestral tree's brilliance will continue to shine upon us juniors. By the way, I sent you a gift. Did you like it?" Tang San hesitated for a moment. "A gift? Recently, many items have been sent from the major cities. I have to apologize, but I'm not sure which one you are talking about." The Sunborn Nymph Emperor smiled slightly and said, "I am talking about Jean Miaolin, of course. The real Jean Miaolin, I mean." Hearing this, Tang San's heart tightened instantly, and all bloodline imprints within him were instantly infused with energy and ready to be activated. Indeed, he hadn't investigated too deeply into who had returned Jean Miaolin. Many cities and clans had returned Blue Gold Tree clan members by simply dumping them on a merchant caravan, with the very specific purpose of staying anonymous. The moment the Sunborn Nymph Emperor mentioned this, Tang San immediately felt an overwhelming pressure radiating from this emperor. He knew about the real Jean Miaolin, and it was he who had returned him. Things were certainly not going how Tang San had expected, but the Sunborn Nymph Emperor remained smiling, as if revealing Tang San's false identity was nothing more than casual chat over a cup of tea. Tang San was not one to overreact, and so he immediately calmed down and nodded in an expression of gratitude. A most generous present indeed. Thank you, Your Majesty. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor's face showed approval. You were clearly very surprised when you heard what I said, which means you really didn't know Jean Miaolin was sent back by me. Yet even here in my presence you quickly regained your composure. I have to say I am truly impressed. No wonder the ancestral tree chose you as his heir. With you at the helm, the Blue Gold Tree clan's revival is indeed just a matter of time. Tang San's mind raced as he considered the possibilities. Your Majesty, what connection does Jean Miaolin have with you? The Sunborn Nymph Emperor explained. It's rather embarrassing. Jean Miaolin came to Sunborn Palace seeking my help on behalf of the Blue Gold Tree clan, hoping I would intervene for the ancestral tree's sake. I was in poor health at the time, so I left the matter to Solar City. Unfortunately, it turns out they misunderstood my intentions and imprisoned him. It wasn't until the ancestral tree's awakening that I remembered him and looked into the situation. When I saw that he had been locked up, I had him sent back to Skytree City. It seems you've taken proper care of him, Tang San replied calmly. His sea of divine consciousness was shattered, and he was in a state of confusion. Thankfully, I could verify his identity due to his bloodline. For now, he's resting and recovering. I hope he'll regain his health in the future. Through the Sunborn Nymph Emperor's words, Tang San began to piece together the situation. When Jean Miaolin left the Blue Gold Tree clan, he must have come to the ancestral court seeking help from the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, hoping this most powerful Nymph Emperor would stand up for him and the Blue Gold Tree clan. However, Jean Miaolin forgot that as a Nymph King and a direct bloodline heir of the ancestral tree, he was nothing more than a juicy fruit waiting to be picked. Perhaps someone like the Sunborn Nymph Emperor did not personally need that kind of life energy, but the Scorching Sunflower clan certainly did. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor's words were undoubtedly nothing but a way to make himself look less bad. Without his approval, who would dare imprison someone he had recommended? Moreover, the damage to Jean Miaolin's sea of divine consciousness was something even Tang San had no way of healing, at least not until his cultivation evolved again. Even if Jean Miaolin had returned to the clan, unless someone like Jean Miaosan, who was intimately familiar with him, recognized him, nobody else would have been able to detect his bloodline and realize who he was. In fact, his bloodline aura was so faint that even Tang San had only detected it thanks to the ancestral tree, allowing him to cover the entire city with his divine consciousness. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor had to be aware of this, so it was clear that his intentions hadn't been to ruin Tang San's plans. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor smiled and said, "That's good to hear. I must admit, we owe the Blue Gold Tree clan for this matter. If you have anything you need, don't hesitate to let me know. I'll help as long as it's within my means." Tang San replied solemnly, "Your protection over the years has been the foundation of my clan's survival, so we dare not ask for more. But meeting you today fills me with hope. As you know, our Blue Gold Tree clan is weak, since we only have our life energy to rely on, and we're not skilled in combat. If possible, could we seek shelter under your banner and follow your orders in the future?" The Sunborn Nymph Emperor waved his hand, saying, "There's no need to talk about giving orders. We're all plant-type nymphs, so we're naturally one family. If the Blue Gold Tree clan needs anything in the future, I won't stand idly by. What about you? Do you have any plans? From my perspective, there shouldn't be any issues with your evaluation." Tang San thought for a moment and said, "I don't have much in mind for myself. My only wish is to protect my clan and avoid further tragedies." The Sunborn Nymph Emperor shook his head. It would do you good to show some ambition. The Adamant Nymph Emperor's fall was its own doing, but now that another emperor seat has opened up, the competition with the Empyrean Dominion will only get more heated. In my opinion, you are one of the best candidates from our side to become an emperor. You should strive for it. Thank you for your encouragement, Your Majesty, but I feel that I'm still far from becoming an emperor. Achieving that might be." The Sunborn Nymph Emperor said, "We will give you support in this regard. as I am sure will the ancestral tree. Our solstice empire needs an emperor like you. Only by becoming an emperor can you properly harness the power of life energy and make truly great contributions to our country. Tang San's heart stirred as he realized something and quickly replied, "If the day comes when I do become an emperor, I will never forget your majesty's kindness. Whatever you need, I will give my all." The sunborn nymph emperor stood up, walked over to Tang San, patted him on the shoulder, and then moved to the window, turning his back to Tang San. "You are aware of the recent fall of the Crystal Demon Emperor, aren't you?" "Yes." Tang San also stood up and turned to face him. The sunborn nymph emperor sighed. "At our age, most of our concerns revolve around our lifespan. In this regard, we plant-based beings have an advantage. The Crystal Demon Emperor had many fortuitous encounters, and only because of that was she able to live over 3,000 years. Every emperor craves life energy, and your Blue Gold Tree clan possesses the purest form of it. This is why your clan has faced so much oppression. Even if you become an emperor in the future, it will be difficult to fully protect your people. Do you have any plans for that?" Tang San nodded and replied, "I do have some thoughts. I believe that it's actually better to go with the flow rather than resist it. If people want us to give them life energy, then I am thinking of giving them life energy. My own purpose in coming to the ancestral court, apart from undergoing evaluation, is to have this matter discussed. In practical terms, I want my clan members to go to all main cities of the continent, establish bases there, and provide life energy for the cities. Of course, our Solstice Empire will take priority." The sunborn nymph emperor turned sharply, his eyes blazing as he stared at Tang San. "That's a bold idea. Tell me more." Tang San spoke solemnly. "I'm fully aware of the issues facing our Blue Gold Tree clan. Problems even the ancestral tree couldn't solve in the past. With the ancestral tree's revival, we are able to gather life energy more efficiently, and we have life-bestowing abilities. Our people, especially those at the Nymph King level and above, possess a remarkable ability to concentrate life energy. If a major city has one of our gods stationed there, they could gather the surrounding life energy into the city, benefiting all the city's inhabitants. The stronger our people are, the more vast and powerful the life energy they can gather, potentially even drawing the plane's primal life energy to elevate the life levels of those who absorb it. Of course, this is not entirely selfless. This life energy will also enhance our cultivation. I brought 36 elders with me, each of whom possesses this ability. Main cities could easily have multiple elders stationed there, leading to even more concentrated life energy." The sunborn nymph emperor pondered aloud. "Your idea is quite interesting. But, as you said, your clan is like a treasure trove of natural resources in itself, so ensuring safety would be a problem. And if your nymph kings all leave, then what about Skytree City? What position would your clan hold in the future?" Tang San answered without hesitation. "None. We would simply be a part of each main city in the Solstice Empire. And if you permit, even cities within the Empyrean Dominion. We could go to every city and town, and we wouldn't interfere in their affairs. Each of our people who goes to a city would be protected by that city's own authorities, while they focus solely on gathering life energy. I've thought a lot about the challenges our clan faces, and as you said, even if I become an emperor, I wouldn't be able to protect every single clan member. To many races, we are seen as nothing more than a resource. So instead of putting a wall around the treasure trove, what we should do is make sure that the treasure trove is a bottomless one, from which benefits can be extracted indefinitely. Only by doing this can our clan endure for eternity. This approach may not yield the short-term benefits you'd get from simply extracting our energy, but I refuse to believe every single demon or nymph powerhouse is this short-sighted. The longer we persist, the greater the life energy we can provide, and the long-term benefits will be unimaginable. Moreover, we would spread the ancestral tree's influence across the continent, letting its light shine further. At the same time, this would allow the ancestral tree's power to be dispersed, helping the entire continent gather the plane's life energy. As for Skytree City, we would leave part of our clan there. As long as the ancestral court permits, the city will stay under our control as a sacred site. The ancestral tree is there, after all." This time, the sunborn nymph emperor did not respond immediately but seemed to fall into deep thought, turning back toward the window. Through the window, one could see the ancestral court outside with a sweeping view from above, giving a broad perspective. After a long moment, the sun-born nymph emperor finally spoke. "And what about you? When the time comes, will you choose to stay in Skytree City, or will you remain in the ancestral court?" Tang San replied, "If every main city has members of my clan gathering life energy for it, then as the core of the entire continent, how could the ancestral court be lacking? If I become an emperor, I am willing to serve as the life core of the ancestral court, gathering life energy for it. I would provide the purest life energy to all your majesties, helping to resolve your issues with life energy. I believe that as my control over life energy improves, I can help extend your majesty's lives significantly. What do you gain from this? If it's really as you say, then you might never be able to leave the ancestral court again. You will be bound to this place," the sun-born nymph emperor said in a deep voice. Tang San nodded and replied, "That's true, but this is the best choice for my clan to truly walk in the sunlight. I believe you know that the ancestral tree has not truly awakened. In fact, it has already merged with the plane, and even though it has in fact gained some measure of sentience, it's nothing more than that. I have gained the ancestral tree's approval, and this allows me to use its power to a certain extent, but only within a limited range. The ancestral tree's radiance is not enough to protect our clan across the continent. However, if I can become the life core of the ancestral court, then the attitude of all the emperors toward my clan will surely change. Our safety would be assured. Moreover, as the core of the continent, if I can continuously absorb life energy here, it would not only help the ancestral court but also greatly benefit my own growth. Perhaps in the future, I could even become a second ancestral tree, and my lifespan would be extremely long." The sun-born nymph emperor nodded as well. "Your plan is bolder than I expected. To be honest, I had initially intended to suggest that you stay in the ancestral court, but I hadn't considered that your Blue Gold Tree clan could become a neutral guest of all major cities. Speaking of this, however, if we support you in becoming an emperor, what benefit would that bring to the Solstice Empire? Being truly neutral means you'd have to treat the Empyrean Dominion the same as us." "That's only in principle," said Tang San. "After all, our Blue Gold Tree clan is still a plant-type nymph clan, and there's no such thing as being perfectly neutral. If the day ever comes when the Empyrean Dominion and the Solstice Empire reach a point of irreconcilable conflict, drawing back life energy to the Solstice Empire wouldn't be impossible. In fact, if this happens far enough in the future that we're well and truly settled there, then our clan's migration could shake their very foundation." The sun-born nymph emperor's eyes lit up. "I like your way of thinking. Planning for 1,000 years ahead. Very well, I acknowledge your neutrality, but getting the Empyrean Dominion to accept it won't be an easy task." Tang San smiled slightly and said, "You mentioned planning for 1,000 years. Trust requires time and real contact. Since we already have the intention to serve them for a millennium, why wouldn't they accept it? If they don't accept, even better. More of our clan's powerful members could be distributed within the Solstice Empire. By then, in the west of the continent, our clan's strong members could absorb life energy together. The continent is connected, and both the Empyrean Dominion and the Solstice Empire are part of the Demon Continent. Once we fully absorb life energy here, and they lack a balancing force, the life energy of the entire Empyrean Dominion would start tilting toward our Solstice Empire. After some time, the balance of power between us would shift. Wouldn't that be even better? Ha 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 ha, you really have thought of everything." The sun-born nymph emperor suddenly threw his head back and laughed. Tang San continued to stand calmly beside him. After the sun-born nymph emperor finished laughing, he nodded and said, "You have my support here. When the time comes, feel free to propose your ideas. However, there's one more thing I might need your help with. Please go ahead. As long as it's within my ability, I will do my best," Tang San said respectfully. He understood that the sun-born nymph emperor had been mostly convinced by him. The sun-born nymph emperor said, "I need some of the ancestral tree's essence. I mean its core essence, which is very important to me. Can you extract some for me?" Tang San was taken aback for a moment, immediately wondering why he needed the ancestral tree's essence. What would he use it for? The ancestral tree's essence was, of course, the life essence of the plane, the source of all life force on Phelan planet. Was it just to extend his lifespan? Hardly likely. Your Majesty, I currently don't have the ability to extract the ancestral tree's core life energy, Tang San said with some difficulty. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor waved his hand and said, "No rush, no rush. It's fine if you do it after you become an emperor. Once you get there, you will be able to control the ancestral tree's power, since you are from its direct bloodline. The ancestral tree's past power was far stronger than you imagine, and extracting some essence won't have much of an impact on it." Without hesitation, Tang San said, "If I can become an emperor, I will definitely help you with that." Of course, his thoughts could hardly be more different. If I become an emperor, then what could you guys ask me to do? By then, I'll be able to do whatever I want. At the same time, Tang San also realized that the Sunborn Nymph Emperor might have some issues. Could it be that he was injured? But at his level, who or what could possibly harm him? This matter required further observation. It could play a major role in Tang San's future course of action. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor nodded and said, "All right, that's settled. You may go now. Rest, make sure you're in perfect shape, communicate with the celestial pillar, and prepare for your evaluation. Don't worry. There won't be any issues with it." His promise and Tang San's previous speculations were two different matters. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor's status in the Solstice Empire was equivalent to that of the Crystal Demon Emperor in the Empyrean Dominion. With his approval, Tang San's evaluation would naturally go smoothly. Skytree City belonged to the Solstice Empire, and as long as the Nymph Emperors agreed that he was good to go, everything would be settled. The 7 Nymph Emperors were now down to 6. Earthshade would not dissent once Sunborn gave his approval, and with these two figures supporting him, things were as good as done. As Tang San left the residence of the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, he realized a cold sweat had broken out on his back. When the Emperor had pointed out that he was not truly Jean Mirolan, Tang San had genuinely felt a bit nervous. At that moment he had even prepared himself to act. But this was the Council Mountain of the Ancestral Court. Even if Tang San gave it his all, he was not confident he could escape if a fight broke out here. However, he later realized that although the Sunborn Nymph Emperor knew he wasn't truly Jean Mirolan, he believed him to be another descendant approved by the ancestral tree, simply using Jean Miaolin's name. To Sunborn, the identity of the Blue Gold Tree clan's leader didn't matter as long as that leader was obedient and followed his plans. The key was the ability to offer up the ancestral tree's essence in the future. Clearly, that was the real purpose behind summoning Tang San for this meeting. Thus, all Tang San had to do was agree to that condition, and make the Blue Gold Tree clan neutral, serving all major cities. This had surprised the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, and it was clear from his later shift in attitude that he now held Tang San in higher regard. It had been no easy task, but for Tang San, the most crucial step had been completed. The next challenge might be facing the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor, and whether he could escape the scrutiny of his Celestial Fox vision. As long as he passed this hurdle, his identity would be completely solidified. Upon returning to his residence, Tang San carefully organized his thoughts. After pondering for a while, Tang San decided to ask Crystalline. After all, she was more than just a little familiar with the other emperors. "Crystalline, what do you think of him? You heard what he said just now. Why do you think he needs the ancestral tree's core life essence?" "There are some problems with his body, of course. I've actually suspected it for a while. The reason he rarely comes out to handle affairs isn't because he doesn't want to, but because he's incapable," Crystalline replied. In the ancestral court, she couldn't afford to casually reveal herself, so she was instead communicating with Tang San through his divine consciousness. "Incapable?" Tang San asked in surprise. "It's just a suspicion. I've never confirmed it. I told you how he became an emperor, but to be honest, I've always wondered. Could a mutated scorching sunflower, or rather a one-of-a-kind sunborn flower that had cultivated for 100 years, truly devour an emperor? Seems too incredible. There's something off about it. Was the devouring really complete? The divine consciousness of an emperor is immensely powerful. Take me, for instance, when my life was nearing its end, I could transfer my divine consciousness into a clone and be reincarnated. My cultivation decreased, sure, but my entire memory remained intact, allowing me to live another life. The former scorching sunflower nymph emperor was no weakling either. While he wasn't at the top like the sunborn nymph emperor, he was still an emperor, And no matter what you may think, not a single emperor is a slouch. Could he really have been devoured that easily? No way. So I suspect that his divine consciousness remains, not fully digested by the sun-born nymph emperor. I believe that his request for the ancestral tree's life essence might be an attempt to use that immense and high-level life energy to complete the fusion. If he is successful, he will become even stronger. In fact, he might even surpass the level I once reached. After hearing this, Tang San found himself agreeing with her hypothesis. It was the best explanation for the sun-born nymph emperor's request. Indeed, no one understands someone better than their rival. Crystalline, what level of power do you think the sun-born nymph emperor has reached now? Earlier, I couldn't get a clear sense of his cultivation, Tang San continued. I'm not entirely sure about his current state. In the past, I fought him and Earthshade together and I couldn't win. I tried replicating his abilities, they're unique. His power truly is like the sun itself, and even though I could replicate it, I couldn't match its full intensity. It's the kind of power that can destroy everything. In this regard, he's much stronger than Earthshade Nymph Emperor, and you must be cautious of him. Sunborn is dangerous. The reason I suspect he hasn't fully devoured the Solar Nymph Emperor is that I once felt his power destabilize. At that moment, I even felt a death threat. It was like he was nothing but an unstable, uncontrollable cluster of energy, and there was a real chance he could explode. After that, I never fought him again, and he has rarely shown himself since. Obviously, the reason he wanted to meet you now was the ancestral tree's awakening. While the ancestral tree was in deep slumber, no one could extract its core life essence without facing direct rejection and suppression from the plane. But with your appearance, he saw an opportunity. Tang San nodded slightly. If that was true, then it made perfect sense for the sunborn nymph emperor to consider him a key figure. Do you have any other ideas for this evaluation? Crystalline asked. Seriously, compared to him, you're even harder for me to read. You always manage to pull off things that I find unbelievable. But after you do them, I realize how everything falls perfectly into place and maximizes benefits. Tang San couldn't help but feel a bit helpless. You make it seem as if everything's easy. When your strength is lacking, you have to rely on your brains. My goal is simple. To let the Blue Gold Tree clan bless the world and further concentrate the life energy of the entire demon continent. You see, for any being, there's always a balance of fortune and misfortune. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor has long been gathering fortune for the demon continent, while directing misfortune elsewhere, making the demon continent's fortune flourish. You'd think this is perfectly good for the demon continent, but it really isn't. Yes, the continent is strong, and it gathers all the superior beings of this plane. But if this imbalance in fortune continues, it will inevitably attract backlash. During my tribulation, I could feel the planar ruler's disdain for the demon continent. Giving it back the lotus seeds might have seemed like a calamity for the continent, but I was actually helping it a lot more than I would have liked to. Wait, I get it now, Crystalline exclaimed. Whoa, you're downright evil. Are you trying to accelerate the downfall of the demon continent? Tang San smirked. As expected of my daughter. Yes, when fortune reaches its peak, and the core life energy of the plane also reaches peak concentration in one place, misfortune will inevitably arrive. And once it comes, it will be irreversible. Demons and nymphs have become too powerful. When my strength recovers in the future, I won't be able to stay here, and it's really not my role to deal with them, but what I can do is let them destroy themselves. Did you come up with all this before you joined the Blue Gold Tree clan? Or did you just think of it recently? I've had these ideas for a while, but I've been pondering them along the way, seeking better approaches. Crystalline took a deep breath and said, You're truly amazing. Maybe the planar ruler specifically sent you to deal with the demon continent. Perhaps it arranged for your reincarnation here on purpose. Tang San shook his head. The planar ruler isn't capable of that. It's powerful, but it's not on the same level as my former self, and neither is it intelligent enough. The only force that can influence such actions is the laws of the universe. Indeed, the truly terrifying thing is the greater universe. Crystalline sighed. All right. I'm just glad I don't have any true family, or I'd seriously regret being with you. Tang San patted her head mentally. All I do is for the betterment of humanity. Also, you shouldn't be too concerned. Demons and nymphs won't be destroyed because of my actions. What I told the planar ruler back then was the pure truth. I simply want to help the plane restore its balance and give humans on this plane a chance to rise. Once that happens, it's up to them. Believe me, humanity's natural advantage is also determined by the laws of the universe. While humans have many flaws, their creativity is unmatched by any other race, even your dragon race. Sigh. Alright, Dad, I'll go back to sleep. Wake me when you face the celestial pillars. I'm already aboard your pirate ship, so whatever you plan to do, I'll just have to support you. You won't regret it. I'll show you even more miracles. The arrival of the Blue Gold Tree clan didn't cause much of a stir in the ancestral court, or at least, Tang San and his people didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. During the following 3 days, he and the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan remained within the council mountain of the ancestral court. They were not allowed to leave until his evaluation was completed. Tang San met with the elders once and found that they were all well accommodated, with everything they needed in terms of sustenance. The Blue Gold Tree clan's energy-gathering ability was indeed powerful. With so many elders at the 10th order and above residing in the council mountain, the life energy inside the ancestral court rose substantially within just 3 days. And once the 3 things had passed, it was time for Tang San to face the celestial pillars. Regarding the celestial pillars, Tang San had heard Mei Gongzi explain the entire process in detail. He couldn't help but feel a bit excited, as this was the power left behind by generations of emperors. The day before, he had been informed of the exact time. Thus, after washing up and having breakfast, Tang San waited in his room. Before long, there was a knock at the door. Tang San straightened his clothes and went to open the door. And when he did, he was genuinely startled. Standing outside was not the scorching sunflower nymph king but the most powerful figure in the Solstice Empire, whom Tang San had met 3 days ago, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. Your Majesty, why have you come personally? Tang San asked, looking at the Sunborn Nymph Emperor in surprise. Seeing Tang San's surprised expression, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor smiled and said, I don't have much to do lately, and I want to see what you can gain from the Celestial Pillar. Today, I'll personally preside over the ceremony for you. Come on, I'll take you there. How could I trouble you, Your Majesty? Tang San said, his face full of gratitude. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor simply smiled and turned to lead the way. Tang San quickly followed, keeping half a step behind him. As they walked, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor smiled and said, although your Blue Gold Tree clan once had an emperor, he was not quite up to par. The celestial pillar that remains from that time is quite weak. That person likely relied entirely on the ancestral tree's inheritance to barely ascend to emperorhood, and the ancestral tree's recognition of him was probably nowhere near what it is for you. After all, he couldn't even use the ancestral tree's power to fight. In other words, I don't think you'll gain much from it. If possible, try to use your divine consciousness to communicate with other celestial pillars, especially the stronger ones. You may be a plant-type nymph, but that's besides the point. The important thing is that you possess the life attribute, the source of all living things. You shouldn't limit yourself to just your clan's celestial pillar. Understood, Your Majesty. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor's words were very similar to what Crystalline had said earlier. Clearly, the Blue Gold Tree clan could not be any weaker. Even their former emperor had not been held in high regard. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor continued, after we spoke the other day, I carefully considered your idea of neutrality, and the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. You should refine your idea further. After you are done with your evaluation, I'll bring it before the ancestral court for discussion. At that time, you will face questions from all the emperors, so be prepared. Understood. Thank you for your support, Your Majesty. It's nothing much. You're thinking of our future, and you're also thinking of the future of your Blue Gold Tree clan. This is indeed a good approach, beneficial to everyone and fitting for someone of your standing. On our side, I will coordinate with the other nymph emperors in advance, so things should proceed smoothly. Led by the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, Tang San followed him out of Council Mountain. On the day he and the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan arrived, they had entered through a side door. Today, the Emperor also took him out through the same side door. The area around Council Mountain was very quiet, as ordinary citizens were not allowed near. Today you'll need to climb the mountain from the front and enter the council hall. The celestial pillars are there. This process is entirely up to you, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor said, standing before the stairs at the front of the mountain. Council Mountain was tall, with its peak hidden in the clouds. From the base, only the stone steps leading upward could be seen, resembling the ascent to an emperor's palace. The entrance to the council hall was halfway up the mountain, visible from below. Guarded by sentinels, the ancestral court's personal guards were selected from first-tier clans and were all outstanding individuals. Tang San remembered Mei Gongzi telling him that when she climbed the mountain, she had to go all by herself, and she was greeted by the Phoenix Guard. From the undying demon emperor's lineage, Tang San's treatment was far superior. He was being personally escorted by the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, undoubtedly the highest possible honor for a prospective city lord of the nymphs. On either side of the stone steps leading up the mountain, ancestral court guards stood watch. When they saw Tang San and the Sunborn Nymph Emperor approach, they immediately dropped to one knee in respectful salute. This gesture was directed at the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, of course. Tang San could even sense their astonishment. These guards had undoubtedly been informed of his arrival, but they certainly hadn't expected that he would be personally escorted by the Emperor himself. As Tang San ascended the steps, he paused slightly. Immediately, he felt an invisible pressure descend upon him. Well, the term descend was perhaps improper. The pressure didn't come from above, but rather emerged from beneath his feet, as if there were an invisible force from the stone steps pulling at his body. Tang San only paused briefly before continuing his ascent calmly. His steps were smooth and steady, and even though the pull from each step increased as he climbed, his pace remained unchanged. Gravity, huh? He had expected this to happen. It was exactly what Mei Gongzi had experienced, and it seemed that Ancestral Court's council was indeed not discriminating in that respect. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor walked beside Tang San, as if they were two friends climbing the mountain together. Of course, Tang San knew that the man was closely observing how he handled the situation. The changes in gravity were quite pronounced, with the pull intensifying and sometimes even disappearing altogether, requiring quick adaptation. Yet throughout the climb, Tang San maintained his effortless stride, as if everything underfoot was completely unrelated to him. Naturally, Tang San couldn't use the Peacock Clan's signature technique, Star Shift, like Mei Gongzi had done. In front of the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, he could only rely on the abilities of the Blue Gold Tree Clan. He enveloped himself in rich life energy, constantly adjusting the strength of his aura to counteract the effects of the fluctuating gravity. By releasing or condensing life energy, he neutralized the changing gravitational forces. At this moment, no matter how the gravity beneath his feet fluctuated, Tang San's life energy adjusted accordingly, compensating for the force coming from below. His steady pace caused the Sunborn Nymph Emperor to show a satisfied expression. Control over one's own body was not something the Blue Gold Tree Clan was particularly known for, and while he had come here mainly as a display of benevolence, he also wanted to see if this new leader of the Blue Gold Tree Clan truly had what it took to earn his support for becoming an emperor. Tang San could feel that by the time he approached the entrance at the halfway point of Council Mountain, the gravity beneath his feet had increased to 10 times the normal level. This wasn't an ordinary tenfold increase, but one specifically designed for demon kings and nymph kings. The gravity fluctuated unpredictably. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor continuously observed Tang San with his divine consciousness. Tang San's outward flow of life energy fluctuated in strength, constantly adapting to the changes in gravity without any waste. The life energy he released would always be reabsorbed. The 8 blue spikes on his back remained steady, and the life force around him was boundless and vast. Walking alongside him made the air itself feel clearer. Finally, Tang San reached the last step, and all the gravitational pressure quietly disappeared. He stood calmly as if nothing had happened, gazing at the massive stone gates before him, towering 100 meters tall. A hint of excitement flickered in his eyes. Looking up at it, he could see various carvings on the left side of the gate, depictions of demons. With just a quick glance, he could tell that these were images of demons with first-class bloodlines, meaning only those clans who had produced emperors had the right to have their likeness displayed here. On the right side of the gate were reliefs of nymphs, with the most central one depicting the sun and moon in glorious competition. Of course, a representation of the sun-nurtured sun-born nymph emperor and the earth-suppressor earth-shade nymph emperor. An invisible force of oppression seemed to emanate from the two massive stone gates, causing Tang San to feel a pressure akin to Mount Tai weighing down on him, affecting his divine consciousness. Tang San closed his eyes, and immediately within his divine consciousness, it seemed as if countless powerful entities were whispering. These murmurs tugged at his divine consciousness, causing subtle fluctuations. While these whispers had no real effect on him, Tang San still made himself appear momentarily dazed. With his divine seat, these ordinary divine consciousnesses posed no threat to him. However, with the sun-born nymph emperor nearby, Tang San had to put on a convincing display to avoid raising any suspicions. There was a solution for that, of course. He activated the ancestral tree's imprint, causing the life energy within him to grow even more intense and powerful. His rising life energy clearly reached a new level, which stimulated his divine consciousness, allowing him to use it as a shield to envelop himself. Your foundation is quite solid, not bad," came the voice of the sun-born nymph emperor. In the next moment, the massive stone gates in front of Tang San slowly opened, revealing a wide passageway. The light inside the stone gate was extremely bright. The first thing Tang San saw was a huge pillar of golden light deep inside. This golden pillar descended from heaven, unimaginably tall and vast, as if connecting the earth to the sky. It was this pillar that illuminated the entire council hall. Inside the stone gate on either side were colossal pillars, each engraved with the likeness of a creature. Each pillar seemed almost alive, exuding a distinct aura. The heights of these pillars varied, but the shortest among them still stood over 100 meters tall. They formed two rows, all the way from the gates to the towering golden pillar. Without a doubt, these pillars were the foundation of the ancestral court's council mountain, the celestial pillars. Contained within that golden pillar was extraordinary, boundless energy. Tang San could even tell that the reason the ancestral court was the core of the demon continent was directly tied to this colossal golden pillar. This was the very seat of power for the entire continent, the place where the emperors of both demons and nymphs convened. It was the place where the fate of the entire demon continent was determined. Behind him, the stone gate slowly closed with a low rumble. Tang San could feel the difference between this place and the outside world. It was as though he had entered an entirely separate realm. Upon stepping into this world, his bloodline imprints began to surge with energy, and his physique, internal energy, and divine consciousness were naturally elevated to their peak state. Mei Gongzi had once told him that her divine consciousness would also surge in tune with her bloodline power in this place, but Tang San experienced no such change. His divine consciousness was somewhat stimulated but nowhere near as much as she had described. This was a place where the bloodlines of demons and nymphs would be stimulated to the point of boiling, and Tang San's sharp senses told him that it was not simply a place blessed by fortune. There was a faint sense of division here, as though many different forces converged, some complementary, while others opposed one another. Recalling the complex energy fluctuations within the ancestral court, the blending of different elemental energies, Tang San realized that it was likely the result of the unique environment of the celestial pillars. The convergence of so many celestial pillars belonging to different emperors of different elemental attributes was what produced this powerful yet chaotic mixture. Tang San walked forward step by step, feeling a different sensation each time he passed between two pillars. The taller the pillars, the more apparent the pressure they exerted. Shorter pillars felt less imposing, naturally, as the emperors that left them behind hadn't been the most imposing either. The shortest pillars seemed to be just over 100 meters tall, while the tallest three were above 500 meters. The celestial pillars are lined up in chronological order. The earlier the emperor ascended, the closer their pillar is to the ancestral pillar. The voice of the sun-born nymph emperor brought Tang San out of his deep contemplation of the celestial pillars. Tang San nodded. From the multitude of celestial pillars, he could feel the deep foundation of the ancestral court, or more accurately, the foundation of the entire demon continent. Each celestial pillar held profound divine consciousness. This hall he was in was the true core of the demon continent, and it was thanks to generations of emperors that the demon continent was able to maintain such stable dominance over the entire plane. The sun-born nymph emperor led Tang San all the way to the front. "Don't rush. Take your time to observe. and to be observed. If one of the taller pillars acknowledges you, then you stand to gain far more benefits than you would from your own clan's pillar. If you can get multiple pillars to summon you, choose wisely, and try to match the pillar's attributes to your own. Communing with the celestial pillar is a great opportunity for any city lord. And it's not just a formality. Do you understand me? When you finish, your formal evaluation will begin. Thank you for the advice, Your Majesty. Tang San bowed respectfully. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor smiled faintly, patted Tang San on the shoulder and said, "Get ready. Don't worry. I'll be here observing your progress. Go forward with confidence. If any danger truly arises, I'll intervene in time." Though his tone was perfectly casual, it clearly demonstrated his absolute confidence in his own strength. Tang San stood still, his gaze sweeping over the many celestial pillars. Each pillar exuded a different aura. Each seemed to be made of a different material, and each was adorned with a carving of that emperor's original form, so they were visually distinct as well. The taller celestial pillars were, of course, the most eye-catching, not only because of their height but also due to the aura they radiated, which completely overwhelmed the other pillars. With just one glance, Tang San immediately spotted the celestial pillar left by the Crystal Demon Emperor. This pillar towered over the other celestial pillars like a crane among chickens. No other pillar even came close to its height, a testament to the sheer strength of the Crystal Demon Emperor. At nearly 600 meters tall, one had to look up to take it all in. Even though the ceiling here was 1,000 meters in height, this pillar somehow seemed to fill the entire space. Some celestial pillars stood only about 100 meters tall, and in comparison to this one, they seemed like nothing more than toothpicks. The crystal celestial pillar featured a striking relief of a lifelike dragon, and the entire pillar, like the dragon, appeared to be sculpted from pure crystal, radiating a gentle glow. It wasn't just the tallest in the ancestral court, it was also the most beautiful. Its crystalline transparency was mesmerizing, and staring at it for too long could make one feel dizzy. The divine consciousness emanating from it constantly shifted in a strange and mysterious manner. As Tang San gazed at it, he could clearly feel crystalline's imprint start to heat up, faintly resonating with the celestial pillar. Of course, out of caution, crystalline wasn't saying anything. As he focused inward, Tang San quickly discovered that not only was her imprint heating up, but the other bloodline imprints within him were also reacting. Among the 10 bloodline imprints he now possessed, nearly all were first-tier or close to it. Normally, it was hard to gather so many first-tier and high-order beings together, but here there was a peak-level representative of every single first-tier bloodline and even some second-tier ones. Naturally, all of Tang San's bloodlines apart from the Chronocroc had a related pillar here, and now, all of them were resonating. At that moment, Tang San could hear the divine consciousness of dozens of celestial pillars calling out to him at once. The reason there were so many was that several powerful clans had produced multiple emperors. For example, the Celestial Fox clan and the Undying Fire Phoenix clan had emperors in almost every generation. Tang San even sensed a 150-meter-tall celestial pillar emanating the aura of a wind dragon, also calling out to him. His dragon rock transformation included the bloodline of a wind dragon. He had been unaware that the Wind Dragon clan had once produced an emperor. Without hesitation, Tang San quickly sat down where he was, focusing inward while extending his divine consciousness outward to sense the changes in the celestial pillars. His experience in communing with a celestial pillar would undoubtedly be different from Mei Gongzi's. After all, his knowledge and power were far beyond hers, and he had 5 times the number of bloodlines she had when she underwent her evaluation. Moreover, as the Sunborn Nymph Emperor had said, the baptism of the celestial pillar was a great opportunity for any city lord. But for Tang San, it wasn't just about being acknowledged and drawing insights. It was also about deeply understanding the history and heritage of demons and nymphs, and seeking for things that could benefit him. As Tang San released his divine consciousness, his connection to the celestial pillars grew even stronger. The pillars' calls to him intensified, causing the bloodline imprints within him to heat up. Startled, Tang San immediately activated the ancestral tree's imprint, releasing rich life energy that enveloped his entire body. At the same time, his Chaos Blue-Silver Emperor radiated a small amount of chaos energy that merged with the ancestral tree's power. raising the life energy to an even higher level. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor was standing beside him. When Tang San sat down and began releasing his aura, he turned to leave. There was no need to stay and guard Tang San's baptism. Leaving a trace of his divine consciousness to monitor was sufficient. But just as he was about to step away, he was suddenly astonished by the high level of life energy emanating from Tang San. With the support of chaos energy, the ancestral tree's imprint instantly unleashed an overwhelmingly powerful life energy. While Tang San simply intended to use this to shield himself, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor sensed something quite different. Just by standing in the immediate vicinity of this source of pure and elevated life energy, his own life essence was benefiting directly. Although the Sunborn Nymph Emperor knew that Tang San had inherited the ancestral tree's legacy and was blessed by its brilliance, this was his first time personally experiencing Tang San's full release of his aura. The life energy was far stronger than he had imagined. Notwithstanding the Blue Gold Tree clan's horrible lack of combat abilities, the sheer quality of this life energy was extraordinary. If he were to use this energy to assist in his cultivation, it could allow the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, who had long reached his peak, to seek even greater heights. This little guy is truly impressive, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor thought, a faint smile appearing on his lips. If he could reach this level as a great nymph king, then if or rather when he ascended to emperor, his control over life energy would become even more formidable. No wonder the ancestral tree had awakened. It likely had a lot to do with Tang San's exceptional talent. The Blue Gold Tree clan had indeed found a leader capable of restoring its glory in the future. Even if he didn't go as far as to draw the ancestral tree's core life energy, simply keeping this young man around would still be of immense benefit to him. With this thought, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor now looked far more favorably upon Tang San. There were few beings in this world he regarded highly anymore, and without a doubt, Tang San was one of them, even surpassing the younger generation of the Scorching Sunflower clan. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor had little sense of belonging to the Scorching Sunflower clan. This was in fact the norm for nymphs, which tended to be a lot more utilitarian than demons. Back then, if he hadn't devoured the old Scorching Sunflower Emperor, he would have become its nourishment instead. Though he had grown in the Scorching Sunflower clan's ancestral land for a solid century, no one had ever paid him any attention or thought of ways to help his growth. He had quietly absorbed the leftover energy in some forgotten corner, growing bit by bit on his own. To the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, the high-level life energy Tang San was now radiating had elevated him to the status of an emperor-level resource. Not just any resource, but one of the most supreme resources this plane had to offer. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor had visited Skytree City before, but he was certain that even back then, he hadn't sensed such a high level of life energy from the ancestral tree. Of course, now that the ancestral tree had awakened, the situation was probably different, but its core energy was likely no higher in level than what he was feeling now. Calling this young man an ancestral tree sapling wasn't far off. No wonder he had the confidence to push for reform within the Blue Gold Tree clan, and he was aiming to become the life core for all the major races. Interesting, truly interesting. Thus, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor didn't leave but instead sat down behind Tang San. The life energy Tang San was radiating had a nourishing effect even on him, so why return to his quarters? Guarding Tang San while absorbing some of this life energy was most certainly not a waste of his time. He wasn't intending to absorb Tang San's life energy directly. With Tang San's current cultivation at the 11th order, no matter how pure or high level his life energy was, it wouldn't bring any kind of major transformation to a being as powerful as the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. Only once Tang San became an emperor would his power truly be effective. What the Sunborn Nymph Emperor aimed to do was to attune himself to the level of life energy Tang San was radiating. Such high-level life energy was a rare experience. Gaining insights from it could deepen his own understanding of life and help him raise his own life level. But just as the Sunborn Nymph Emperor was about to sink into deep meditation, he suddenly froze. He noticed that the entire ancestral court council had suddenly become brighter. The change in light was drastic and instantaneous, and in the next moment, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor's eyes widened slightly. Despite his vast experience, even he couldn't help but reveal a look of astonishment. Why had the ancestral court council suddenly brightened? It was because nearly 1/3 of the hundreds of celestial pillars were now glowing, emitting divine consciousness filled with life energy. Indeed, it wasn't just light. The divine consciousness fluctuations also intensified, making the vast hall itself feel as if it had come to life. The sun-born nymph emperor had been here countless times and was one of the most powerful overseers of this place, yet such a strange scene was something he had never witnessed before. Even when he himself took over Solar City and multiple celestial pillars reacted to his power, it wasn't anything. Nearly 1/3 of the celestial pillars had lit up for the young man standing before him. What shocked him even more was that the celestial pillars responding weren't all nymph emperor pillars. Many of the pillars of the late demon emperors were reacting as well. This was truly astonishing. After all, under normal circumstances, only the celestial pillars of the same bloodline would respond to a city lord coming for evaluation and calling out to them. The city lord would then choose the strongest pillar of their bloodline to commune with and gain some benefits. It wasn't unheard of for multiple celestial pillars to react to certain city lords, especially those with broad and powerful attributes. For example, when the leader of the immortal flame phoenix or the parasol tree lineage came, the celestial pillars of the former immortal flame phoenix demon emperors and the parasol tree nymph emperors would respond, due to the compatibility between these two bloodlines. Of course, each person would typically choose one of their own clan's pillars. For Tang San to awaken nearly 1/3 of the celestial pillars was unprecedented, even in the entire history of the ancestral court. The sun-born nymph emperor stared in shock at the historic scene before him, his mouth slightly agape, his face showing clear astonishment. Meanwhile, Tang San was inwardly cursing. He hadn't intended for this to happen. This kind of reaction was bound to raise suspicion. That was why, when he had just begun meditating, he had planned to directly connect to the crystal demon emperor's celestial pillar. The problem had arisen when, to conceal his many bloodline imprints, he had first released the aura of the ancestral tree, and used the chaos blue-silver emperor to support the ancestral tree's imprint. This was something he had to do. Otherwise, the sun-born nymph emperor's powerful divine consciousness might have detected the energy radiated by the multiple bloodline imprints within him. As a result, he had delayed his attempt to connect with the crystal celestial pillar for just a few moments, and these moments had proven critical. The life energy he released didn't just catch the attention of the sun-born nymph emperor. It also affected the celestial pillars. His life energy boosted. The vitality of the pillars, and those related by bloodline immediately sensed the bloodline imprints within him. The discerning eye of heaven imprint directly awakened the celestial pillars of the celestial fox clan's past demon emperors, causing the celestial fox clan's pillars to light up. Not only that, but the unique celestial pillar of the rainbow deer demon emperor also shone brightly. The bloodline of this master of elemental control, or at least the bloodline of its clan, considering this emperor was a solitary, played a key role in the discerning eye of heaven, and right now its pillar was reaching out to Tang San. The golden armor transformation bloodline imprint, a fusion of the behemoth beast and golden mammoth bloodlines, had power beyond the limits of the plane. Rather than weakening the essence of the two separate bloodlines, the fusion greatly amplified their strength. Thus, the celestial pillars of both the behemoth clan and the golden mammoth clan reacted excitedly when they sensed Tang San's power. In turn, the peacock demon, immortal flame phoenix, dragon rock, and even chrono croc imprints caused numerous demon emperors' celestial pillars to react as well. The celestial pillars left behind by the nymph emperors had even stronger reactions. The life aura of the ancestral tree was potent like no other, causing the single short celestial pillar of the blue-gold tree clan to instantly burst into dazzling blue-gold light. Moreover, although the chaos blue-silver emperor was simply supporting the ancestral tree's power, that minute trace of chaotic energy still triggered responses from a large number of plant-based celestial pillars. Tang San even began to suspect that the divine consciousnesses stored within these celestial pillars might believe that, with the chaotic energy and the vast life force he was radiating, they could be resurrected. In any case, almost 1/3 of the celestial pillars had been activated, and Tang San found himself on the receiving end of calls from dozens of divine consciousnesses, each one stronger than the last. What could he do? At this point, the issue wasn't about choosing the crystal celestial pillar anymore. The phenomenon he had caused was so significant that not only would the sun-born nymph emperor be shocked, But it might also alarm the other emperors of the ancestral court. As thoughts raced through his mind, Tang San made a split-second decision. He completely gave up on concealing his aura. Instead, just as he sensed the Sunborn Nymph Emperor's divine consciousness sweeping over from behind, he instantly activated his chaotic blue-silver Emperor bloodline imprint to the maximum. Chaos energy, supported by yin and yang, suddenly surged forth. Dazzling blue-gold light burst out from Tang San, and his life force visibly surged outward like a geyser. In that instant, the life energy he unleashed could even rival the moment when the ancestral tree's brilliance helped him obliterate the adamant Nymph Emperor. Standing just behind Tang San, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor suddenly felt an unparalleled wave of life energy crashing into both his body and divine consciousness. His divine consciousness had been locked onto Tang San the whole time, yet it suddenly felt muddled and dizzy. At the same time, there was also an indescribable sense of comfort. Stimulated by this strange and immense life energy, his divine consciousness felt as if it were soaking in a hot spring, even experiencing a slight enhancement. Life energy that can even enhance divine consciousness? The Sunborn Nymph Emperor's eyes widened in disbelief, and brilliant light burst from his pupils. For a moment, he even lost composure. His face blushed, his features turned somewhat ethereal, and even the contour of his face shifted slightly. At the same time, a deep hum resounded through the entire council hall. Almost instantly, every single celestial pillar within the hall lit up. Not a single pillar was left unlit. The council hall transformed into a magnificently radiant world. Each pillar emitted an intense glow, and concentrated divine consciousness fluctuations began to ripple throughout the hall, causing even the council mountain to tremble slightly. From outside, the mountain suddenly gleamed with radiant brilliance. Multicolored light engulfed the massive peak at the center of the ancestral court, as if heralding the descent of a divine being. It was an awe-inspiring sight that startled every single being in the ancestral court. The immense divine consciousness fluctuations spread outward, and all demons and nymphs within the ancestral court felt as if they had been struck by lightning. They turned as one toward the council mountain, bowing reverently with hearts full of worship. They all felt it at the same time. Their bloodline power was stirring, and their vitality was being stimulated. A moment later, one figure after another quickly appeared within the council hall, each radiating overwhelming power. It was the emperors who had remained within the ancestral court. At this moment, whether they were demon emperors or nymph emperors, their faces were filled with astonishment. The first thing they saw was Tang San, whose entire being was glowing with blue-gold light. The 8 spikes on his back gleamed with crystalline light, and the explosive surge of his high-level life force made all emperors feel nourished from the very core of their being. The shock they felt was beyond words. But as some of them tried to approach, a powerful force stopped them in their tracks. Only then did they notice the Sunborn Nymph Emperor standing behind Tang San. At that moment, the blue-gold light began to recede, like a tide withdrawing. However, every celestial pillar in the council hall remained lit, and they all emitted the same kind of aura, an aura that seemed to be calling for someone with a sense of urgency. Tang San remained seated, completely unaffected by the mountainous presences around him. The life energy he radiated was not as vast as before, even though it remained at the same high level. The magnitude and depth of that life energy were so high that almost every emperor present, aside from being stunned, couldn't help but show a flicker of greed. If they could absorb life energy of that level for a while, then forget about potential cultivation breakthroughs. It might even extend their lives by a full 1,000 years. Now, even the Sunborn Nymph Emperor's expression grew grim. He had thought he already took this heir of the ancestral tree seriously enough, but now it was painfully clear that he had still underestimated the young nymph. Had he known this would happen, he would have prepared more thoroughly. And now the other emperors had been drawn in. Things were bound to get infinitely more complicated. The undying demon emperor, who stood there emanating the dark red light of his immortal flame, looked sharply at the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. "All right, Sunborn, spill it out. What's going on here?" After the fall of the Crystal Demon Emperor, he was now the most powerful force on the Celestial Feather Empire side, and one of the few who could speak to the Sunborn Nymph Emperor as an equal. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor replied calmly, "Jean Miaolin is the newly appointed leader of the Blue Gold Tree clan, and he has come for his city lord evaluation. Right now, he is here for the communion with the celestial pillars, as is customary. And yes, before you ask, it is him. He's the one who carries the legacy of the ancestral tree. I believe that after its awakening, the ancestral tree likely passed on its life imprint to this youth, allowing him to draw upon its energy. The eruption of life energy just now didn't really have much to do with him. It was the result of the ancestral tree's imprint reacting to the stimulus of the celestial pillar's divine consciousness. Gazing at the brilliantly glowing pillars, the undying demon emperor narrowed his eyes and said, "I see, so he's the one who called upon the ancestral tree's power to slay the adamant nymph emperor. Truly extraordinary, I have to say. Congratulations, Sunborn. Another genius has emerged in the Solstice Empire." The Sunborn nymph emperor smiled faintly. "There's nothing to congratulate me on, really. It's not like he's my cousin or something. But his talent is indeed impressive, especially his mastery over life energy. In my opinion, he's the most likely candidate to inherit the ancestral tree's mantle and become the new ancestral tree. I mean, I don't even have to argue for it. You've all sensed the level of life energy he emits. If he becomes an emperor in the future, the benefits wouldn't just be on the Solstice Empire's side. He will be an incredibly important asset to all of us." The undying demon emperor nodded slightly. He too had sensed the life-enhancing effect earlier. Everyone knew the Blue Gold Tree clan wasn't built for combat. While not quite as helpless as the Celestial Fox clan, they were still notoriously weak. But this level of life energy was simply too tempting. If he became an emperor, his ability to generate and condense life force within the ancestral court could become a treasure of longevity for all emperors present. For a moment, the greed in the eyes of the emperors dimmed slightly. Demons and nymphs had always been in competition, with the power of their respective emperors being the key metric. But at this moment, all of them reached a consensus. Tang San becoming an emperor would benefit both sides. The Sunborn nymph emperor added, "He has yet to choose which celestial pillar to commune with. I ask that none of you disturb him." All the emperors present retracted their auras and sat cross-legged atop their own celestial pillars. Of course, none of them left. "You want us to leave? Do you think we're complete idiots? Please. What if this Jean Miaolin unleashed another surge of life energy like the one before? That kind of energy could nourish both divine consciousness and bloodline power, far beyond what any known natural treasures could offer. And it came at no cost. How could they miss out on something like that?" Even the Sunborn nymph emperor could only sigh helplessly, while Tang San quietly exhaled a breath of relief. Of course, Tang San could sense everything outside. And of course he had deliberately engineered the whole thing. The moment he realized nearly a third of the celestial pillars lit up because of him, he knew he was in trouble. Realistically, he couldn't enter any of the pillars except the crystal celestial pillar. And if the emperors discovered he was actually human in the process, that would be a massive problem. After all, only the divine consciousness would enter, not the physical body. And while his physical form and aura could be easily disguised, divine consciousness was impossible to fake. That was why he had risked triggering his chaotic energy to unleash the ancestral tree's source-level life energy. He had to do everything to avoid suspicion. If only a few pillars had reacted to him, the Sunborn nymph emperor would definitely have questioned him afterward, especially since a number of demon emperor pillars had also lit up. That was clearly abnormal. It seemed rather counterintuitive, but now that all the celestial pillars lit up, there was actually no problem anymore. The reason was simple. What Tang San had unleashed was the ancestral tree's life aura. It was this vast life energy that gained the approval of all the celestial pillars, not him as an individual. And in all fairness, he was a young nymph with little experience. What was wrong with putting on a bit of a show and calling upon his ancestor to give him a hand? Of course, in truth, what truly triggered a reaction from all the celestial pillars wasn't just the ancestral tree's aura, but chaos energy. As a primordial force of the universe from the dawn of creation, that bit of chaos energy possessed by Tang San was something that every single being in existence coveted. There was not one single being alive that was not drawn to the allure of chaos energy. That was why there was such a dramatic response. In any case, now that all the celestial pillars were lit, it meant that every single demon or nymph clan wanted him. He could draw the other emperors in and turn a potential problem into an opportunity. Hey, you can see how useful I am, can't you? So when I start a so-called neutral faction in the ancestral court, what can you do but support me? And when I propose that the Blue Gold Tree clan remain neutral and I stay at the ancestral court to release life energy for its benefit, how can you resist? Who wouldn't be on board with that? Among the presences here, he could now sense a familiar aura. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. Though the Celestial Fox Emperor hadn't said anything yet, his gaze had been fixed on Tang San. He could see the astonishing destiny surrounding Tang San. That surge of fortune that occurred when Tang San's life force erupted, almost rivaling the ancestral pillar of the council hall, was unlike anything he had ever seen. If any emperor present supported the theory that Tang San was the true heir of the ancestral tree and the future life core of the plane, it was definitely him. The Blue Gold Tree clan has indeed produced an extraordinary figure. This is just about as good as it gets, given the circumstances, thought the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. He even suspected that Tang San was actually not an heir of the ancestral tree, but actually some kind of avatar, a projection of the ancestral tree. After all, the ancestral tree operated on a different level altogether, and the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor was well aware that it had merged with the plane's consciousness and was now a part of the planar ruler. Could it have created a projection to protect the Blue Gold Tree clan? That was hard to say, but it was completely within the realm of possibility. Each emperor present had their own thoughts, but they were all watching Tang San closely, awaiting his final choice. After sensing the aura surrounding him calm down, Tang San released his divine consciousness once more, heading directly toward the tallest crystal celestial pillar. As his divine consciousness expanded, all the emperors immediately sensed it, and when they realized he had chosen the tallest crystal celestial pillar, they were surprised for a moment, but the next moment they all shrugged. It made perfect sense. If all pillars responded to you, which pillar would you choose? Naturally, the tallest one. That pillar would surely offer the greatest benefits. Even the Sunborn Nymph Emperor nodded slightly. This was a wise choice. Although the Crystal Demon Emperor was technically a member of the dragon race, she was in all actuality a solitary without any successors. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor was similar. Though born of the Scorching Sunflower clan, he had long since surpassed any and all scorching sunflowers ever born. The Rainbow Deer Demon Emperor and some other solitary emperors of old were of the same caliber. Choosing the Crystal Demon Emperor's pillar was risky, but the potential rewards were simply unrivaled. More importantly, since this emperor had no one to pass down her inheritance to and her celestial pillar had responded to his call, the chance of being acknowledged was actually non-negligible. All present had personally witnessed the might of the Crystal Demon Emperor. Naturally, all of them were envious of Tang San right now. This was the only 600-meter-tall celestial pillar. As soon as Tang San's divine consciousness touched the crystal celestial pillar, it was instantly drawn inside. A radiant crystalline light burst out from his body. The massive crystal dragon coiled around the pillar suddenly opened its eyes. A brilliant beam of light shot out, enveloping Tang San, lifting him to the top of the crystal celestial pillar. There he sat cross-legged, fully shrouded in its aura. Is this direct communion? That's practically guaranteed success. The emperors were once again shocked. This kind of situation had naturally occurred before, but only with direct bloodline candidates recognized by their own clan's celestial pillar. One example was the latest lord of Kali City, and this was the Crystal Demon Emperor. The fact that the former top emperor had recognized the Blue Gold Tree clan leader elevated Tang San's status even further in their eyes. Within the ancestral court, the two most mysterious emperors were the Crystal Demon Emperor and the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. The latter was legendary, but rarely acted and always seemed distant and ethereal, unreal almost. Perhaps only the Earthshade Nymph Emperor truly understood him. The Crystal Demon Emperor's power, meanwhile, was grander and at the same time even more elusive. Her supreme ability to replicate seemed to have no limits. She had never killed other emperors, but she had beaten up nearly all of them. No one knew the true extent of her power. And after her death, the fact that she left behind an unprecedented 600-meter pillar confirmed her strength. Who wouldn't want to commune with her pillar? Gaining even a portion of her replication ability would be a tremendous advantage, placing one at the very top among emperors. However, the Blue Gold Tree clan was not known for combat. This was a known fact. Even with the death of the Adamant Nymph Emperor, that perception hadn't changed. The Soul Capturer Nymph Emperor had personally witnessed how the Adamant Nymph Emperor was blown apart. In his eyes, it was clearly the ancestral tree's doing. It had injected too much life energy into the Adamant Nymph Emperor, and the latter had been unable to withstand it, and that was that. The Blue Gold Tree Clan specializes in life energy. Even if they gain that replication ability, what use is it? Can life energy even support that ability? Whatever he does, he won't be the same as the old crystal. But even after consoling themselves with these thoughts, their envy of Tang San remained. Now resting atop the pillar, Tang San finally felt calm. With so many emperors gathered, he would be lying if he said he hadn't been wary. With his cultivation and this location, if things had gone south, he would have been hard-pressed to escape. Thus, he had been very careful in his decisions. But now, with the Crystal Celestial Pillar's approval, his identity had been thoroughly validated. Crystalline's imprint radiated heat, and Tang San could sense his body forming a link with the pillar. His imprint and the pillar began exchanging energy. This was, after all, the Crystal Demon Emperor's pillar, and Crystalline was essentially reclaiming her former power. As Crystalline called to him, Tang San's divine consciousness was drawn inside. His consciousness felt more focused, but at the same time, the surroundings transformed into a dazzling crystal world. It was just like when he climbed the Crystal Sacred Mountain. Crystal clear ground underfoot, surreal lights all around. Crystalline was in front of him. Her eyes shimmered with nostalgia, and as she looked around at the scenery, she seemed somewhat sad. Tang San said nothing. He simply watched her in silence. If I infuse you with the ancestral tree's life energy and nurture you with chaos energy, do you think that can bring you back to life? Tang San asked. Crystalline nodded. It's possible. After all, my innate ability is replication, and I even replicated my own memories and everything else to be reborn at your side. In a sense, I've already come back to life, and how far that goes is entirely dependent on you. If you're willing to use chaos energy for me, a true rebirth is very possible, and I should be able to quickly regain my past strength. Before Tang San could speak, she continued, but this isn't what I want. So what if I'm revived? Live another 3,000 years? I still can't break free from the shackles of this plane, and I can't escape the erosion of time. I've already decided to follow you, and since I decided that you'll be giving me a piggyback ride to immortality, then you can't shake me off, Daddy. As she said the last sentence, a smile returned to her face. Tang San responded with a smile. Believe in your choice. It's the right one. Well, I sure hope it is. Anyway, now that you're here, prepare to receive my Crystal Celestial Pillar's baptism. Crystalline smiled. Tang San was a bit surprised. I already have your bloodline imprint. Isn't that enough? Crystalline replied with some pride. It's not that simple. Don't forget, I was once the #1 emperor. The power I left within the Crystal Celestial Pillar isn't something that can be absorbed so easily, even by my own imprint. Once my imprint absorbs that power, it will rise to the peak of the 11th order, and it won't be inferior to your transcendent bloodlines. But that's not all. You can also benefit from this power. The biggest benefit is that you'll be able to directly use my sealing abilities. My copying ability may not be that useful to you, but the sealing ability certainly will be. In a sense, my sealing talent is a kind of divine consciousness technique, and it's actually the fundamental reason I could become the #1 emperor. In fact, it's more useful than copying. Once you inherit the ability, you'll understand why I'm so excited about it. With it, you won't have to worry about conflicts among your bloodline imprints. It'll be a huge advantage for your path to becoming an emperor. Tang San didn't stand on ceremony with Crystalline and sat down cross-legged on the spot. All right then, let's do it. Crystalline sat down in front of him as well, and slowly spread out her arms and held her palms up, making a beckoning gesture. In an instant, light erupted from the surroundings, and dazzling brilliance illuminated the entire world inside the pillar. A powerful divine consciousness washed over Tang San like a storm, cleansing his own divine consciousness, and this cleansing was accompanied by a wealth of knowledge. Only now did Tang San begin to feel Crystalline's true power. On the Crystal Celestial Pillar, Tang San's body began to emit a crystal-like radiance, as if he had also turned into a crystal sculpture and merged with the pillar. The pillar shimmered with translucent brilliance, continuously washing over his body. Meanwhile, the sun-born nymph emperor had stood up from the ground. Beside him appeared another emperor, cloaked entirely in black robes, exuding an extremely chilling aura. Sunborn, could Crystal take on some new transformation with his help? I always felt she was too powerful to die so easily, said a dark-robed emperor. The sun-born nymph emperor shook his head. Hard to say. She has lived for 3,000 years. Our strength may be great, but time is merciless. All we can do is prolong our lives. Among us, she lived the longest. If she really had a way to revive herself, no, I honestly don't believe it. Time is the most terrifying force. The corrosion of 3 millennia is no joke. It's precisely because she lived so long that I understand this more clearly. Even if you and I work together as yin and yang, we may not even survive that long, so what about her? She was relying on her own power and nothing else. I admit she's strong, but to resist time itself? That's beyond her. Even the ancestral tree eventually chose to merge with the world. Think about it. The ancestral tree controlled the life energy of the entire plane, and it still couldn't prolong its own life. So no, true resurrection is just not possible. Moreover, although Crystal is powerful, she's not on the ancestral tree's level. That being was the only one who might have created an eternal world. Good, as long as she's not coming back. The Earthshade Nymph Emperor changed the topic. What do you think of that little blue gold tree clan guy? He's excellent. Better than I initially judged. The life energy he just released surpassed even the ancestral tree's essence. His connection to the ancestral tree's awakening is certain, and it brought him power that ordinary blue gold trees don't have. His idea of neutrality is also quite something, and I suspect it comes from the ancestral tree's will. Blue gold trees have immense innate value but no way to protect it, and this is practically the only way a clan could survive. If you think he's good, then I trust your judgment. As they spoke, a pale hand emerged from the Earthshade Nymph Emperor's black robe and pressed against Sunborn's hand. A faint halo appeared between the two of them, making their aura grow even deeper. There were 8 demon emperors while nymphs had 6 of them. Of the 14 emperors, 10 were at the ancestral court. Nymphs were fully represented. All 6 were present. On the demon side, the Undying Demon Emperor, Celestial Fox, White Tiger and Crystal Phoenix were here, while the others remained in their respective main cities. The White Tiger Demon Emperor was sitting on his own celestial pillar, and his eyes were fixed intently on the young blue gold tree. For some reason, as he stared at that blue figure, he felt a strange sense of familiarity. Silver light faded as Mei Gongzi finished her cultivation. Since fusing with the immortal flame phoenix bloodline, her cultivation had been progressing rapidly. Her understanding of space and of the immortal flame phoenix's nirvana rebirth was deepening by the day. However, she'd been a bit irritated lately. That guy hadn't come back in a long time. Who knows what he's up to? And the martial competition is drawing closer. An envoy of the ancestral court had come to deliver a message. Since this was an absolutely major event, and even the nymphs of the Solstice Empire would be involved, they hoped she would come to the ancestral court for it. But Mei Gongzi had flatly refused. She knew that only in Kali City could Tang San display his full power. It bordered the ocean, so if he was in danger, he could escape using the power of the endless blue sea. The ancestral court was a different story. The sheer number of emperors was a huge problem. Last time, Tang San had said that he would join the selection tournament under a different identity, but then got all mysterious and wouldn't say more. So annoying. You're gone for so long and you keep secrets from me like that. You bastard. You're going to get it when you come back, she thought fiercely. And then couldn't help but start missing him. But why isn't he back yet? Did something happen? Lately, there were rumors that something big happened in the Solstice Empire. An emperor had actually died. The fall of the Adamant Nymph Emperor was a major blow to nymphs, and it only made the race for an emperor's seat grow even more heated. Of course, she desired to become an emperor too. She had this vague feeling that fragments of memory in her mind were starting to piece together. As her divine consciousness improved, and her connection with the Azura sword deepened, the feeling became more pronounced. So once she became an emperor, she might be able to remember more about her past life. About their past life. She had asked Tang San about it before, but he had never told her much. He had only told her that, since they were living again, they should fully embrace this life's beauty. When the time came, the memories would return on their own. In their past life they had loved each other. But in this life he didn't want her love to be bound by the past. That wouldn't be fair to her. Things were going quite well on the human side. The Sea Giant clan and the Sea Sky Tree clan were incredibly helpful, and the major islands had begun to connect with each other. Although there hadn't been a large influx of human settlers yet, preparations were already underway. Once the timing was right, many more would be able to migrate. As for those already living on the islands, life could be described as peaceful and prosperous. The only thing they still lacked was a suitable cultivation method, but Tang San had gone out precisely to search for a solution to this thorny problem. Once he returned, he was bound to have one. In other words, everything was moving in a positive direction. It's just, it had been a while since I last saw him. The last time he returned, it was just his divine consciousness, and even that was just for a few moments. There wasn't even time to. Thinking of this, Mei Gongzi's lovely face flushed red. Longing was such a difficult emotion to bear. Once the marriage tournament was over, she'd never let him go out again. A long while passed before Tang San's divine consciousness gradually regained awareness within the Crystal Demon Emperor's celestial pillar. He had a divine seat, so his divine consciousness was extremely stable. Everything crystalline had passed on to him was very clear. Crystalline's imprint had also undergone changes. Originally, this imprint had been quietly lurking at the periphery of his dantian, not doing anything in particular while Crystalline was asleep. Now it had taken on a hexagonal shape and looked like an actual crystal rather than an orb of light. It had dragon-like patterns etched on it and an unusual luster. What shocked Tang San even more was that the ranking of his bloodline imprints had changed. Previously, the center position was held by the Chaos Blue Silver Emperor, followed by the Golden Armor. After that was the brand new Indestructible Lion Tiger, and then the Discerning Eye of Heaven, Peacock Demon, and Chrono Croc. The Chaos Blue Silver Emperor was still in first place, but the second was no longer the Golden Armor transformation but rather the Hexagonal Imprint, which Tang San could now finally call his own crystal transformation. What did that mean? It meant that its power surpassed even the two top-tier transcendent bloodlines. Another transcendent bloodline. No wonder. Crystalline truly lives up to her title as the once undisputed top emperor. Other bloodlines had to be fused together to achieve this level of power. Yet her bloodline is stronger than the Golden Armor and Indestructible Lion Tiger all by itself. The Chaos Blue Silver Emperor could enhance all other bloodline imprints, granting them yin and yang energy. In that sense, it wasn't just the strongest but also the core of his cultivation. And now, apart from it, the strongest bloodline was crystal transformation. Was this power merely due to the sealing ability? After this epiphany, Tang San had come to understand the Crystal Demon Emperor's sealing ability. Indeed, just as she had told him, it was more of a divine consciousness technique. He had some experience with that. He had learned in his previous life how to use his divine consciousness for attacks and to control an opponent. But the Crystal Demon Emperor's divine consciousness ability was beyond that. It was a mysterious and marvelous power, something that seemed almost magical even to someone as experienced as Tang San. It was also incredibly versatile. Since it relied on divine consciousness, which could be applied anywhere and at any time with no particular restrictions, it could be used for a myriad of applications. Tang San could seal other people, but he could also seal himself and whatever was within him when needed. He could seal artifacts, and he could even seal other divine consciousnesses. Oh, you're awake. Did you feel the change? Crystalline's voice echoed. I feel changes in myself, but I don't fully understand the changes in your bloodline imprint. Did you gain a new ability? Crystalline giggled. If they ask you what power you gained from my celestial pillar, just tell them it's summoning. Summoning? Tang San was momentarily confused. Crystalline proudly replied, "You've got so many bloodline imprints. If I'm just one among them, how will I stand out? You'll see soon enough. It's not just a boost in power. It'll become the perfect disguise for all your other bloodlines." Oh, just as Tang San wanted to ask about the details, the surrounding light suddenly shattered, like exploding crystal glass. His divine consciousness was forced back into his body. Crystalline light shot into the sky, causing all the emperors meditating nearby to simultaneously open their eyes and turn toward the crystal demon emperor's celestial pillar. Atop the pillar, Tang San's illusory form had returned to a solid physical state. But then something extraordinary happened. The giant crystal dragon coiled around the pillar seemed to come alive, spiraling up the celestial pillar, and then launching into the air. It circled the ceiling of the council hall, emanating strange energy waves as it flew around the pillar. Seeing this, every emperor present was stunned. They and many others before them had communed with a celestial pillar, but such a phenomenon had never occurred. A celestial pillar acting as if it were alive? That was something none of them could remember seeing in the historical records. Of course, if they thought about it, it wasn't that surprising. The Crystal Demon Emperor had always been special, and naturally, so was her celestial pillar. It was, after all, the first pillar in history to reach a height of 600 meters. After circling a few times, the enormous crystal dragon suddenly dove down and plunged straight into Tang San's body, disappearing without a trace. The dragon was gone, and the pillar remained as crystal clear as ever, with no change in its aura. What just happened? The emperors were bewildered. Even the sun-born nymph emperor looked at the celestial fox demon emperor with complete puzzlement in his eyes. The celestial fox demon emperor smiled wryly. "Don't look at me, I have no idea either. You know Crystal. Nothing about her can be understood by normal logic. Let's ask clan leader Jean." Tang San's energy fluctuations gradually subsided, and everything returned to normal. He slowly opened his eyes. The sun-born nymph emperor beckoned him. "Come here." Tang San leapt down from the pillar and returned to the gathering of emperors. Divine consciousnesses swept over him unreservedly, as if trying to see through his very soul. Yet the life energy radiating from Tang San was incredibly dense, as though he were a rare and priceless natural treasure. Aside from that rich and pure life force, the emperors couldn't sense anything else. If even the sun-born nymph emperor couldn't uncover anything before, the others certainly couldn't either. Only the celestial fox demon emperor sensed a subtle difference. After undergoing the baptism and releasing that immense life energy, Tang San's overwhelming fortune had subsided slightly. Although still unimaginably massive, it no longer had that world-dominating aura. "What did you sense during the communion?" the Earthshade Nymph Emperor couldn't help but ask. Tang San blinked, then said with some confusion, "I saw a woman in a white dress, very beautiful. She seemed to speak to me, but I couldn't hear clearly what she said. It was all very hazy. I felt like she was infusing something into me. After a long while I woke up." "That's it?" asked the Earthshade Nymph Emperor. Clearly she was suspicious. Tang San nodded seriously. "That's what I experienced." With the divine seat stabilizing his divine consciousness, he could simply lie to their face and none of these emperors would be any the wiser. The sun-born nymph emperor said, "Once your duties here are finished, you should take time to reflect on this. You might find something to help you. If you need anything, you're welcome to ask us. For that matter, I suggest you stay in the ancestral court for a while instead of returning right away. That way we can assist you immediately if necessary. Do you understand?" "Thank you, Your Majesty," Tang San said respectfully. Crystalline had told him he could tell the emperors that the power he had received from the Crystal Demon Emperor's pillar was summoning. But Tang San wasn't planning to reveal that just yet. The less he said, and the more they speculated on their own before anything was revealed, the sun-born nymph emperor said, "Since you're done communing with the celestial pillar, the next step is your evaluation. You should be aware that there are 3 trials, right?" Tang San nodded. "The elders of my clan have mentioned it." "Then let us begin," said the sun-born nymph emperor, turning his gaze toward the nearby celestial fox demon emperor. Though the 4 demon emperors didn't really want to leave, obviously they wanted to observe Jean Miaolin for a while longer. Rules were rules. The city lord evaluation was a matter of national affairs, and demon emperors had no business interfering in the Solstice Empire's proceedings. The celestial fox demon emperor nodded. "Fellow nymph emperors will take our leave. Clan leader Jean, best of luck in your evaluation." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Tang San politely nodded in return. With the departure of the 4 demon emperors, only the 6 nymph emperors remained. The atmosphere became noticeably more relaxed. Aside from the Sunborn Nymph Emperor and the Soul Capturer Nymph Emperor, who had met Tang San before, the others all looked at him with a trace of curiosity and even suspicion in their eyes. This was nothing abnormal. To the best of their knowledge, this young man had seemingly appeared out of nowhere, without warning, and suddenly stepped into the spotlight. He had just popped up from somewhere, yet he had immediately earned the recognition of the Blue Gold Tree clan, becoming their new clan leader. Even the ancestral tree had awakened thanks to him. In all fairness, it was indeed also possible that, just as the Sunborn Nymph Emperor had said earlier, Jean Miaolin had only risen to prominence because the ancestral tree had partially awakened. But regardless of which was the cause and which the consequence, what this young man had done since his appearance had shocked the entire continent. It had been no less than 2 millennia since an emperor had last died of unnatural causes, yet this young man had managed to slay one. Although the emperors believed that this feat was due to the ancestral tree's power, the result was the same. An emperor was gone. This incident had stirred tremendous waves across the demon continent and within the ancestral court. For the Solstice Empire, the death of a nymph emperor was a tremendous loss. Even though the adamant nymph emperor wasn't among the strongest, an emperor was still an emperor. So, was the emergence of someone like Jean Miaolin good or bad? It was hard to say. But one thing was certain. The power of the ancestral tree was a formidable deterrent. No one knew its current level of strength, and none of the emperors dared to investigate personally. After all, the one emperor who tried was dead. Who knew how temperamental the ancestral tree had become upon its awakening? What if it attacked them during a visit? Naturally, they were deeply curious about Tang San, especially since he had just completed the baptism of the Crystal Demon Emperor's celestial pillar, and even previously attracted the attention of all the celestial pillars, something completely unprecedented in the ancestral court. Every emperor here had once been an exceptional being among exceptional beings, and they all knew that such phenomena usually signaled the rise of a monstrous genius, just like the Crystal Demon Emperor had been. And if that was the case now as well, then losing one adamant nymph emperor in exchange for someone with potential to become a new Crystal Demon Emperor was well worth it for the Solstice Empire. The first part of the evaluation is combat against an opponent on your level. Are you ready? Asked the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. Tang San hesitated slightly and said, Your Majesty, as you well know, we Blue Gold Trees are rather terrible fighters. Facing an opponent of the same level might not be very fair to me. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor was momentarily taken aback. He knew full well that the Blue Gold Tree clan wasn't combat-oriented, and this trial was originally intended to be a formality. Yet he hadn't expected Tang San to openly admit that he wasn't good at fighting. It was almost as if he didn't want to fight at all. This step is still necessary protocol. Prepare yourself, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor said with a meaningful look in his eyes. Yes, Your Majesty, Tang San replied with a nod. With a wave of the Emperor's hand, a figure stepped forward from behind, already prepared. It looked like a human male in his 30s, and it was calm and composed, exuding a dense and powerful aura. Tang San immediately figured out what the opponent was. A member of the Scorching Sunflower clan. Was this really the Sunborn Nymph Emperor's way of going easy on him? The Scorching Sunflower's bloodline power was the bane of nearly all plant-type nymphs. Their tremendously hot fire was not something easily dealt with. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor, however, offered no explanation and simply gestured for them to move in an open space between the celestial pillars. Tang San had no choice but to step back into the designated battle zone between the pillars. The Scorching Sunflower expert followed, nodding politely toward him. Clan leader Jean, greetings. I am Rongyang of the Scorching Sunflower clan. I am looking forward to exchanging pointers. Tang San returned the nod. Greetings. Likewise. As expected, this man really was a great nymph king-level expert of the Scorching Sunflower clan. A truly formidable being. Even among other first-tier bloodlines, few could rival these nymphs. Perhaps only the great nymph kings of the immortal Flame Phoenix line could compare. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor gave Tang San no time to think. Begin, he declared in a low voice. With his command, the battle officially began. Fierce fire energy erupted almost instantly, surging like an explosion. The temperature in the council hall soared rapidly, making Tang San feel as though he had plunged straight into a magma hell. A moment later, Rong Yang's figure disappeared into a twisted halo of light. A domain. And he's using it from the very start. Tang San had fought members of the Scorching Sunflower clan a few times before, but most of his past opponents were below the 10th order. He had indeed faced the Scorching King, who was actually stronger than this Rong Yang. But back then, Tang San could freely use his full abilities and even make use of his god seat. Now, in front of so many emperors, those powers were off limits. All he could rely on was life energy. A moment later, Tang San understood the Sunborn Nymph Emperor's intentions. The Scorching Sunflower clan was his own clan. They would follow his orders to the most minute detail. The fact that he had brought such a powerful yet easily controllable opponent to test Tang San was clearly because he intended to probe Tang San's true strength. In this situation, Tang San couldn't display overwhelming power. That would attract suspicion. But he also couldn't be too weak, because that would draw disdain instead. It was a delicate balance. In fact, it was no less troublesome than the trials Mei Gongzi had faced. As these thoughts flickered through his mind, 8 blue spikes extended from Tang San's back, and an intense life aura burst forth. Thanks to the chaos energy surreptitiously boosting it, his life energy reached an incredibly high level. The moment his life energy appeared, the surrounding flames flared even brighter, as though he had poured fuel onto them. But then something strange happened. While the flames did burn hotter, when they approached Tang San, they seemed to grow fond of him. Though the temperature was objectively infernal, it seemed as though the flames were embracing him rather than scorching him. Tang San stood calmly in place, a soft blue-gold halo radiating from his body. The flames that had been aggressively pressing in on him gradually turned blue. These blue flames looked even more terrifying, yet in front of Tang San, they were surprisingly gentle, almost as if the flames had not come from his Scorching Sunflower opponent but from Tang San himself. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor and Earthshade Nymph Emperor had been observing the entire time. As the beings most attuned to pure yang and pure yin in this plane, they were deeply familiar with the nature of such transformations. "This is life assimilation?" the Earthshade Nymph Emperor asked with surprise, glancing at the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. "Is that even possible?" The Sunborn Nymph Emperor nodded slightly. His life force is on an exceptionally high level, far beyond where normal life force can reach. Even pure yang flames are being assimilated. He may not be able to counterattack, but it's also not easy to harm him. The end result just depends on how far he can go. Inside the powerful Scorching Sun domain, orbs of fire began to rise one by one. Soon 9 fiery suns hovered in the air around Tang San. The fire became even more intense, but whenever it came within 50 meters of Tang San, it turned blue, and even though it still burned fiercely, it caused him no harm. Tang San remained still, although the 8 blue spikes on his back were taut and infused with energy. The soft blue-gold glow kept pulsing from his body. The surrounding blue flames began to shift subtly. They gradually transformed into concentric ripples, converging toward him. As they neared him, the blue flames slowly took on a golden hue, pulsing in rhythm with his breathing. They formed a mysterious cycle with the life energy he released. The blue flames were absorbed into his body, fueling a steady flow of powerful life energy radiating outward. "Hey, how are you doing this? I thought you'd have to use my power. I've never seen this kind of life energy used before." Crystalline's voice echoed within him. She was so astonished that she broke her usual silence, something she would have never done mid-battle under normal circumstances. Tang San replied, "Life is the most wondrous energy in the universe. It's born everywhere all the time, and at the same time constantly perishing. Of course, all forms of energy are essential, but no matter how you look at it, life is still the most important of all. No matter how weak or powerful, all beings fundamentally rely on their life force to activate their abilities. Naturally, this also holds true for demons and nymphs. Their fundamental strength lies in their bloodlines, so whether they use fire or ice, the origin of their power is still their life force. The ancestral tree's life energy is the origin of the entire plane's life. By borrowing its power, my life force can reach a level close to that of the plane's source. And chaos energy is a primordial force born at the dawn of the universe, even more precious than the divine energy of a divine realm. Though I don't have much chaos energy, this plane is rich in yin and yang, and thanks to their fusion, that drop of chaos energy is self-sustaining. The total amount may not increase, but it also doesn't easily diminish. And as long as I am supported by this chaos-infused life energy, I can assimilate almost any form of energy. The Scorching Sunflower clan specializes in energy attacks. I can't really do much to him solely with life energy, but as long as I keep radiating it, he won't be able to hurt me either. If it were a different elemental attribute, it might be harder for me to assimilate it, but fire is pretty easy. I've had deep insights from the Fire God's scepter. That scepter represents the highest level of fire on this plane. It might not be the strongest, but it has enough depth to give me a profound understanding of fire, which makes things a lot easier for me now. Of course, if the opponent's power is far beyond my level, it's a different story. If I was facing the Sunborn Nymph Emperor himself, I wouldn't be able to do this. Crystalline quickly understood what Tang San was explaining. I have to say, you're amazing. Holding a stalemate is the most favorable outcome for you. Exactly, Tang San said. I can't let them think I'm weak, but I also can't let them feel threatened. Only in this way can I maintain a neutral position going forward, and only then can I complete my plans. While they spoke, Rong Yang's attacks became increasingly fierce. After the initial probing, he was shocked to find that the life energy Tang San released was unlike anything he'd ever encountered. Though he couldn't harm Tang San and even had some of his flames absorbed, part of the assimilated fire returned to him through the domain. And when Rong Yang sensed these blue flames, he felt as if his very blood was boiling. It was a wondrous sensation, as if his flames were being purified. No, they were being purified, and the purified fire, in turn, nourished his body with life energy. Though the nourishment wasn't particularly intense for someone at his level, there was almost nothing that could give him this feeling. He even felt a subtle qualitative shift in his flames. At the Sunborn Nymph Emperor's urging, Rong Yang gradually ramped up the pressure. Within his domain, the 9 great suns now emitted brilliant gold-red radiance, blasting heat toward Tang San. At the same time, Rong Yang slowed his movements intentionally, trying to absorb some of the assimilated flames. The aura of life in them was simply too wonderful to resist. What he didn't know was that doing this put him at the same risk as the late Adamant Nymph Emperor. If Tang San wished, he could infuse yin-yang energy wrapped in chaos into Rong Yang's body without him noticing in the slightest. The moment this energy ignited inside him, with his body already brimming with pure yang fire, the consequences would be catastrophic. And the Scorching Sunflower's physical resilience didn't compare to the Adamant Nymph Emperor's at all. Killing him this way would be all too easy. Anyone trying to take advantage of Tang San would quickly learn how costly that could be. Of course, Tang San wouldn't actually do that now. His true goal was to let the emperors watching them understand that there were benefits to be gained from him. Only as a continuously beneficial resource could he become truly valuable. Even after becoming an emperor himself, defeating all demon and nymph emperors together would be quite the tall order, unless he regained all his past strength, of course. But strength wasn't his only weapon. He had wisdom too, and with 3 lifetimes of experience, Tang San understood people. Even the most intelligent species had instincts. By leveraging those instincts, he could always find a way to thrive. And the stronger he became, the more space he had to maneuver. Rong Yang's attacks continued to intensify, but Tang San was akin to a bottomless spring of life. The stronger the attacks, the more potent the life energy he released. He consistently assimilated every energy wave coming at him. The battle unfolding in front of the nymph emperors was thus quite the strange scene. Fire burned all around, but the blazing gold-red flames on the outside surrounded a calm blue zone at the center. Tang San stood at the heart of it all, hands pressed together before his chest. Even though he was continuously outputting high-level life energy, and that energy came from his own life force, he didn't even seem to break a sweat. Time passed by second, and both sides remained locked in what appeared to be a stalemate. Gradually, however, Rong Yang's offensive began to weaken. From tentative probing attacks at first to later full-force assaults, Rong Yang had been operating continuously within his domain. But maintaining a domain consumed a vast amount of energy. Even for a great nymph king, sustained combat was not something that could be endured for long. Yet Tang San seemed like a bottomless pit. The stronger the opponent's attack, the more he assimilated. The weaker the attack, the less he assimilated. He was like a rubber ball, molded and squeezed at will. but his life assimilation never wavered. Rong Yang's voice sounded beside Tang San's ear. "Clan leader Jin, be careful." From his tone, Tang San couldn't detect any hostility. And why would there be? After all, the flames purified by Tang San's life energy had significantly benefited Rong Yang. Naturally, he held no ill will toward Tang San. In the next moment, Rong Yang launched his attack. With a flicker of light, a solid figure suddenly appeared at Tang San's flank and stepped directly into the range of Tang San's assimilated flame energy. Life assimilation worked on energy attacks, but what about physical attacks? Rong Yang flashed forward, his body enveloped in golden red light as he closed in on Tang San and struck toward his shoulder with one palm. He was holding back and not striking with full power, clearly not wishing to hurt Tang San. In fact, if not for the Sunborn Nymph Emperor's instructions, he wouldn't have attacked at all. Being nourished by Tang San's energy had been a marvelous experience. Just from this fight, Rong Yang felt his own life force had increased. It was like gaining another year of life. Even the level of his flame seemed to have subtly improved. Where else could he get such benefits? Tang San was aware that Rong Yang would attack him, all the more so since Rong Yang had deliberately warned him. Turning his head slightly, Tang San smiled at Rong Yang. The 8 sharp spikes on his back suddenly turned crystal clear, and in the next moment, all the golden light around him vanished. The bright blue light instantly deepened into a profound navy hue. Within a 10-meter diameter, the world became one of pure deep blue. A domain. That was Rong Yang's first thought. As a great nymph king, his divine consciousness was naturally powerful. The moment he entered that deep blue zone, a sense of unease surged within him. Instinctively he tried to retreat, but it was too late. The area glowing with a deep blue hue suddenly radiated an intense pulling force. It felt as if he was being sucked in by a magically empowered quicksand. Even with his strength, Rong Yang couldn't immediately break free. This mysterious pulling force wasn't acting on his body, but on his life force. Life energy erupted out of him like a geyser. He had already consumed a great deal of energy with his earlier attacks. Now, under the influence of this domain, a sudden intense emptiness overwhelmed him. His divine consciousness screamed of danger, and he immediately abandoned the attack. Halting in midair for an instant, he then leapt backward with all haste. But then the 8 spikes on Tang San's back moved. Rigid and straight just the moment before, they suddenly shot out, transforming into vine-like tendrils that surged toward Rong Yang. They were incredibly fast, and under the pulling force of the blue domain, Rong Yang's speed was further reduced. Brilliant golden red light burst from his body as he tried to repel the tendrils, but the next instant, the light simply transformed into blue flames, blending into the deep blue without resistance. The tendrils wrapped around him instantly, blocking all routes of escape and binding him tightly. Then the deep blue glow engulfed Rong Yang entirely. A layer of deep blue coated the surface of his skin. Rong Yang felt his life energy pouring out uncontrollably. No matter how he tried to suppress it with his spiritual consciousness, he couldn't stop the outward surge. Weakness swept through him. "Clan leader Jin, please have mercy," Rong Yang called out in alarm. Tang San replied with a chuckle, "Best not to get too close next time. We blue gold trees are easily startled." As he smiled, the deep blue light dissipated, and a gentle blue gold flame wrapped around Rong Yang, restoring the life energy just drained and rapidly rejuvenating his body. Rong Yang let out a sigh of relief and quickly retreated, distancing himself from Tang San. Then he saw Tang San smiling at him and nodding politely. "Thank you for the match." 1. This Jin Miaolin actually defeated Rong Yang? The 6 nymph emperors present, including the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, all felt a sense of disbelief. Was this really a blue gold tree youngster? Everyone knew they weren't adept at combat, yet Tang San hadn't been at a disadvantage for even a moment against Rong Yang. Not even the formidable scorching sun domain had managed to pierce his life defense. In the end, a powerhouse like Rong Yang had actually lost. The nymph emperors were well aware that Tang San's success in this evaluation was already guaranteed. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor had given them prior notice. This trial was actually less of an actual trial by combat and more of a test of his abilities. None of them had expected Tang San to truly win, especially without any concessions being made. Moreover, while Rongyang wasn't the most powerful great nymph king in the Scorching Sunflower clan, he was still a member of the strongest nymph clan. For a moment, all the nymph emperors looked at Tang San with newfound respect. The sun-born nymph emperor even had a hint of admiration in his eyes. How did you manage this? And what's that domain of yours? Though he hadn't predicted Tang San's victory, he couldn't deny a certain confidence he'd felt in him. And now Tang San had proven that faith right. Tang San bowed respectfully and said, "Your Majesties, it's well known that our Blue Gold Tree clan is not adept at combat. We don't have many fighting abilities. The only thing we excel in is the control of life energy. Perhaps because of our weakness, we've often become targets of others' ambitions. That's why, after the ancestral tree recently awakened, it granted our clan a new ability, life deprivation. I received the strongest blessing, so I was able to develop a domain, the deep blue domain you just witnessed. However, its effective range is limited, only 10 meters in diameter. If my opponent hadn't entered that zone earlier, then I probably wouldn't have lost, but I certainly wouldn't have won either. I don't have many other offensive means." Life deprivation domain, you say? The sunborn nymph emperor looked at Tang San in surprise. He gestured. "Come, try your domain on me. Let me feel it." Understood. Tang San quickly stepped forward and activated the deep blue domain again, this time enveloping the sunborn nymph emperor. At once, the emperor felt a strange pulling force from Tang San. It didn't affect his body nor his consciousness, but even with his profound cultivation, he could still feel his life force beginning to leak out and being drawn into Tang San. Meanwhile, the blue glow surrounding Tang San grew even brighter as it absorbed life energy. The light surrounding the sunborn nymph emperor flickered 3 times, then Tang San was blasted away by a surge of power, landing several dozen meters away. "What a powerful ability!" the sunborn nymph emperor murmured, unable to conceal the astonishment in his eyes. In just that brief moment, he had attempted no fewer than 3 methods to block Tang San's life deprivation domain, but even with his cultivation, he was unable to do so. And he was an emperor. Tang San wasn't even remotely on the same level as him, yet this ability still worked on him. "Does your life deprivation ability have some kind of absolute effect?" the sunborn nymph emperor asked, puzzled. Tang San shook his head and replied, "Absolute? I don't think so, but unless someone's power exceeds the ancestral trees, they will be affected by my domain to some extent. Still, the domain has significant limitations. First, the domain is only 10 meters in diameter. Second, if I'm struck hard enough to be knocked off balance while using it, the effect stops immediately. So it's only effective against those at or below my level. Against someone like you, Your Majesty, it doesn't mean much." The sunborn nymph emperor was naturally far beyond the level of beings that could be restrained by this method. Rongyang had been different. Once caught in the life deprivation domain, his body had quickly weakened, and from there the imbalance only grew. This wouldn't work against an emperor. Even after hearing this, however, the sunborn nymph emperor didn't change his opinion. "If even an emperor can't resist it, I'd say it is practically absolute. Everyone take note. Don't get too close to this little one. They say the Blue Gold Tree clan is weak in battle, but with this ability that's no longer true. It may not take your life, but it will definitely shave a few years off your lifespan. The Blue Gold Tree clan truly isn't what it used to be." He had fully acknowledged Tang San's strength. The life deprivation domain was undeniably powerful. To appear getting close was simply not an option. Rongyang deeply agreed. If he had just kept attacking from a distance using pure energy, the flames might still have been assimilated, but he probably could have broken through the domain if he used a weapon. By contrast, once he was inside that domain, he doubted he could last even 10 seconds. The speed and intensity of the life deprivation ability were truly overwhelming. Only by experiencing it firsthand could one grasp how terrifying it really was. "Your Majesty, does this mean I've passed the first phase of the evaluation?" Tang San asked with a smile. The sunborn nymph emperor chuckled, raised his hand, and pointed at Tang San. "Consider it passed. You've certainly surprised us today. Next is the second part. The 6 of us will vote. If the majority agree, then you'll have officially passed." "Yes. I humbly ask for your consideration," Tang San said, turning and bowing to each of the emperors in turn. When Mei Gongzi faced this same trial in the past, she would never have passed had it not been for Tang San's covert assistance. But now that Tang San stood here himself, the emperor's reactions were far more simple and direct. "All in favor, raise your hand," said the Sunborn Nymph Emperor, lifting his own hand first. The Earthshade Nymph Emperor followed suit, and the other 4 emperors didn't hesitate and also raised their hands. Tang San's earlier performance had clearly won their approval. Whether it was abilities, potential, or value to the Solstice Empire, nothing was lacking. During the fight with Rong Yang, the benefits Rong Yang gained from Tang San's flame assimilation were evident to any emperor-level divine consciousness. Someone would only bring benefit to the Solstice Empire. As for him trying to use his power to gain authority, that was not really worth the concern. Though the life deprivation domain was unique, its drawbacks were equally visible, and the Blue Gold Tree clan wasn't known for grabbing power anyway. For the final trial, you were supposed to undergo a baptism powered by the will of the ancestral court, said the Sunborn Nymph Emperor with a smile. This trial is meant to test a city lord's adaptability and resistance to assaults from all sides. But given what we've seen already, I think we'll skip it. With your ability to guard yourself with a life assimilation barrier, no amount of energy will be enough to shake you. Moreover, all the celestial pillars already acknowledge you anyway. There'd be no challenge at all. Tang San was slightly taken aback. Then, Your Majesty, does that mean my evaluation is done? The Sunborn Nymph Emperor nodded with a smile. Yes, it is. Tang San couldn't help but feel a bit odd inside. If Mei Gongzi knew how easily he had passed, she'd probably start yelling something about unfairness. Well, in all fairness, it was awfully smooth. Thank you, Your Majesties, for your recognition, Tang San said, bowing deeply to the 6 emperors again. The Soul Capturer Nymph Emperor chuckled. Just don't get any of us killed, and there's no need to thank us. You're representing the ancestral tree now. Just like Sunborn said, you're basically a junior ancestral tree yourself. Judging from your life force level, I have to agree. In my entire lifetime, I've never seen someone with such high-level life force. Tang San looked a little embarrassed. Right about that. I have to apologize for the matter with the Adamant Nymph Emperor. The Soul Capturer Nymph Emperor gave him a sideways look. Regret my ass. Don't pretend you didn't know the ancestral tree was going to deal with him. Without the ancestral tree standing behind you, would you have dared to challenge an emperor openly? Tang San didn't answer. He just smiled awkwardly. All right, let's not talk about what can't be undone, said the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. When I have time, I'll personally visit Skytree City to pay respects to the ancestral tree. I am the one who should offer an apology on behalf of all of us. After all these years, we failed to protect its heirs. That was our responsibility, and we have failed to fulfill it. The other emperors all nodded in agreement. Tang San's smooth evaluation was undeniably tied to the ancestral tree's slaying of the Adamant Nymph Emperor. That single act of power had turned it into the most powerful deterrent. With the ancestral tree's true state unknown, who would dare make a move against Tang San, or the Blue Gold Tree clan now? The Sunborn Nymph Emperor raised his voice. I hereby declare, from this moment, Jean Miarolan is officially the City Lord of Skytree City. He shall hold the same authority as all other city lords and is now a vital figure of the Solstice Empire, with the right to participate in all meetings of the Ancestral Council. All 6 nymph emperors nodded slightly in Tang San's direction. Acknowledged. Now there's one more matter to discuss. Jean Miaolan, tell everyone about your proposal for neutrality. Before we present it to the full Ancestral Council, we'll discuss it among ourselves to make sure we are on the same page. Tang San understood right away. This was the Sunborn Nymph Emperor publicly stating his support. He thus nodded and repeated the ideas he had previously shared with the Sunborn Nymph Emperor. At first, the emperors were surprised, but as Tang San expounded on it, they began to grasp the underlying reasoning. Of course, he didn't mention the part about potentially using his newly demonstrated abilities against the Empyrean Dominion in the future. Such words couldn't be spoken lightly, as they could lead to serious consequences. Even though the Empyrean Dominion and the Solstice Empire were in fact at odds, they remained publicly cordial. Moreover, some nymph emperors had close ties with demon emperors. For instance, the relationship between the Parasol Tree Nymph Emperor and the Undying Demon Emperor was especially strong, even surpassing the ties between some nymph emperors. Therefore, when Tang San explained his ideas, he focused on how the proposal would benefit the Blue Gold Tree clan and bring long-term advantages to the main cities. And therefore, if things work as planned under the radiance of the ancestral tree, our clan's people will be able to better assist the main cities in concentrating life energy. Over time, this might even lead to a large proportion of the plane's life energy being concentrated on our demon continent. In turn, this would allow more powerful beings to be born. Based on my predictions, the life expectancy of virtually every inhabitant of a main city will increase. The 6 nymph emperors showed thoughtful expressions after hearing Tang San's words. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor spoke gravely. Jean Miaolin shared this idea with me back when he first arrived at the Ancestor Council. I gave it some serious thought afterward. For us, this is a plan with all upsides and no downside. He's planning to remain here in the ancestral court, and if he one day becomes an emperor, that event will be no less significant than the awakening of the ancestral tree. The life energy he could generate would benefit all of us emperors immensely. As far as I am concerned, I support this approach. If anyone has objections, now is the time. The Soul Capturer Nymph Emperor frowned. With Jean Miaolin's talent, his life energy level, and the blessing of the ancestral tree itself, his ascension to emperor is very likely. But if he leads the Blue Gold Tree clan into a neutral stance, doesn't that mean the Solstice Empire loses a future emperor? The Parasol Tree Nymph Emperor interjected. That's not necessarily the case. In a way, if his plan truly succeeds, it may even strengthen our relationship with the Empyrean Dominion. The Blue Gold Tree clan could become a bond between the two countries. All things considered, we are one family. I don't think we need to draw such sharp lines. I'm in favor. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor nodded and turned to the Earthshade Nymph Emperor. Earthshade, what's your opinion? The Earthshade Nymph Emperor replied, I think it's acceptable. If he becomes an emperor, he could even become the catalyst that helps balance the yin and yang between us. And even if the Blue Gold Tree clan stands in a neutral position, they are still nymphs at the end of the day. They are more compatible with other nymph races than with demons. While demons do rely on life energy, they don't depend on it to the same extent. So in the end, we benefit more. There's also one other thing. Once neutrality is established, the Empyrean Dominion would need to show some sincerity and act to support the Blue Gold Tree clan. And since they are a nymph clan first and foremost, whatever support they receive will eventually benefit us. So I think Parasol is right. Having the Blue Gold Tree clan mediate between us could make the relationship between our two countries more harmonious. Crystal's seat is still something we have to fight for, but the Emperor's seat left by Adamant's fall is perfectly suited for Jean Miaolin. The ancestral tree's husk still resides in Skytree City, after all. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor gave another nod and looked toward the Endless Nymph Emperor. Endless, what about you? I have no objections, the Endless Nymph Emperor said calmly. Either way is fine. The Sunborn Nymph Emperor finally turned to the Rainbow Glaze Nymph Emperor. Rainbow Glaze. Rainbow Glaze glanced at him, then at Tang San and lowered its gaze. I have no objections either. Among the original 7 nymph emperors, 4 were plant type and 3 were not. Moreover, the Sunborn, Earthshade, Parasol Tree, and Soul Capturer nymph emperors were also the top 4 in rank. The plant type emperors had thus always held the advantage in decision-making, and now, with the fall of the Adamant Nymph Emperor, the balance had shifted even more. The Endless Nymph Emperor was always low profile and rarely spoke up. As for Rainbow Glaze, he certainly felt some kinship with Adamant and pity for its fate, but it wouldn't dare oppose the Sunborn Nymph Emperor now. Not when he had publicly declared support. What if the ancestral tree stepped in? Opposing things now would be political suicide, if not even literal suicide. Seeing the consensus, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor nodded. Since that's the case, we'll consider this proposal approved on our end. Jean Miaolin, you need to draft a more detailed version of your plan. Be bold with it. Yes, Your Majesty, Tang San answered respectfully. Things had gone even more smoothly than anticipated. Yet Tang San remained calm and steady. This made the Sunborn Nymph Emperor regard him even more highly. Stay in the Council Mountain for now and continue working on your proposal. I'll speak with the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor soon. If there's satisfactory progress, we'll convene the full council for a formal decision. In the meantime, improve the plan thoroughly. Also, focus on your cultivation as well. We will do everything we can to support your rise to emperor. With the blessings the ancestral tree has given you, you're uniquely positioned. If you need anything, speak up. But also, even if your clan becomes officially neutral, you must never forget, your origin lies in the Solstice Empire. You are one of us. Understand? Understood. Thank you, Your Majesty. Good. That's all for today, the Sunborn Nymph Emperor declared, marking the conclusion of the meeting and the official completion of Tang San's evaluation. From this moment on, he was the true city lord of Skytree City. The Blue Gold Tree clan had no assigned residence within the ancestral court, so Tang San would remain inside the Council Mountain complex for now. The first thing he did was summon the elders of the Blue Gold Tree clan to inform them of his successful evaluation, eliciting an eruption of joyful cheers. They had full faith in this new clan leader. Tang San's rise in status naturally signaled a rise for the entire Blue Gold Tree clan. As for the neutrality plan, Tang San didn't elaborate. It wasn't urgent, and sharing it could wait until the Ancestral Court's Council gave its final approval. Now that the evaluation was complete, Tang San and the clan elders were no longer confined to their chambers. They could come and go freely. Tang San officially received his own residence within the complex. It was 3 times larger than his previous quarters. While it couldn't quite compare to the residence of an emperor, it clearly reflected his elevated status. He told the Blue Gold Tree clan elders that they could go around freely as long as they didn't leave the ancestral court, then stepped out himself for a walk. To outside observers, it was perfectly natural for someone newly arrived at the ancestral court to explore a bit. Once outside, Tang San donned a large cloak that covered his entire body. This was rather understandable. Members of the Blue Gold Tree clan had distinct physical features, and even here, it was rather normal to be cautious. He continued using his divine sense to monitor his surroundings. Though he was not yet an emperor, his perception was enhanced by his divine seat. He could instantly detect even the careful probing of an emperor. Sure enough, shortly after leaving the Council Mountain complex, several strong auras swept over him. But once he entered a crowd, the spiritual probes vanished and didn't pursue further. It was probably just a few emperors checking in on him. Tang San had left the meeting in a hurry because something had suddenly occurred to him during the evaluation, something he needed to verify as soon as possible. If his suspicion proved correct, it could even offer humanity a path forward. He had to return to Kali City and find Mei Gongzi immediately, but even so, he was extremely cautious. He spent nearly an hour meandering through the ancestral court before slipping into a shadowed corner to teleport away. He reappeared silently at the top floor of the White Tiger Grand Hotel. A moment later, he had resumed his human appearance, just in case he encountered the White Tiger Demon Emperor. His identity couldn't be exposed yet, not even to his grandfather-in-law. The top floor of the hotel was empty, quiet, and just as familiar as he remembered. Without delay, Tang San made his way to the large teleportation array he had constructed there. While he could use the spacetime lighthouse to teleport directly, doing so would draw too much attention. By using the spacetime lighthouse in conjunction with the array, however, the process would be far smoother and more